everyone, and welcome back to the CCS. I mean, we are getting underway here. My name is Soren. Joining me on the desk today is Sutek. And Sutek, we have two games on the docket, one best of one, then a best of three, because it is finally here. Playoff times are in effect. But before we get into the actual playoff bracket, we have the Gauntlet, the final chance for the lower half teams to have a chance to making it to playoffs. How are we feeling going into it today?
I'm feeling great because I don't have to play in the gauntlet. But I'm sure the people that are playing in the gauntlet aren't feeling too hot. I will say that our games, on paper, should be the easier set of gauntlet games. But we will see because TMG might have some schmoves hidden in the back pocket after their 1-16 regular season run. So
Hey,
perhaps they get the Jets. Maybe they hit the Jets in the final part of the season.
you never know. I mean, what's the saying? The fastest dog is the hungriest. At the end of the day, they've got nothing to lose. They've got absolutely nothing to lose, and they are only 2 games away. They played what, 8 matches throughout the last 8 weeks, and now suddenly they could still make it to playoffs with just 2 good wins under the belt. One of them doesn't even have to be a best of three. So I mean, this is their best opportunity to make it. And I mean, you'd imagine they are desperately wanting to make it through to next week. So I'm really excited. I have not gotten the chance to see True Mind. I will say, Skyloft, when I saw them, were actually looking like an incredibly good team. I think it was a game maybe against XSV Rush where they went all 3 games. I just say XSV Rush because it seems like I have been following them relentlessly throughout the last 8 weeks. So I think it was against them, but I do know that they were looking pretty good. Specifically, Obongo was absolutely critical, as well as Witch. Both were absolutely insane in the series that I got to watch. So those are going to be 2 players that I'm really looking out for here, which does mean a lot of pressure, at least in my opinion, is going to be put on Emperor and Galax to keep up with those 2 high performers on the side of Skyloft Spire. So I again, who knows what's going to play? This is going to be a best of one, so it's not a full best of three. A single game decides who's going to be going up against Theory of Everything.
Yeah, and same idea with TMG as with Toe. They haven't had the best run in their group by any means. Obviously, TMG is the lower of the two, the lowest one in the group. But I mean, Toe has not had an easy schedule either because the Group A teams are allegedly stronger than the Group B teams. However, just looking like statistically here, Skyloft does have more individual game wins as we do see the transition into draft. I'm expecting to see obviously the Fiddlesticks ban. That is Witchat's probably his best character. That's what he's most known for. I'm also expecting to see this in the Fury band because this champ is the McDog is broken. And I also expect to see more than likely an Olaf ban, or if there is no Olaf ban, I expect Skyloft to pick it up really early and hopefully pair
Yeah.
it with an Enchanter this time.
Yeah, and very frankly, this also is going to be a very interesting pick and ban because typically we are in best of threes. We've had best of threes for the last 8 weeks, but again, I know I keep saying it. This was a best of one. Very different vibe, very different stakes here, as there is no second chance. You do not get to pull off a reverse sweep. That also does mean that Fearless is not in play here. There is no fear of Fearless here. You do not have to worry about saving your best picks for possibly a game 2 scenario or game 3 if necessary. So this is going to be the best characters that they can bring out into the field, the best composition they can bring to the table because there is no second chance. There is no need to worry about, the possibility of not having them available later. It is do or die here as we do see the pick, or excuse me, the first wave of bands go through. And notably, lacking a couple of the bands that you would expect, as well as myself, I expected that Olaf band as well. Not going to be the case. And it looks like this might be a B1 Karma that does kind of tip the hand that it may be an Ezreal is what they want to bring into it. But no, they make a last minute swap and they're going to pull out the Anivia.
Yeah, I don't know how much of a fan I am of the Anivia B one. It is a takeaway from Pinaholic, because that is probably his most comfortable champion. As weirdly enough, we see a Nocturne get hovered, which probably means Nocturne Ori 1-2 is gonna come out. Um, I don't think it's a bad combo. I think it's actually probably the strongest like 2v2 like combo on the patch right now. But we did leave both of Witchet's characters up and just didn't pick them, so that's also a little weird because he can just play them in the next series if he does win this game. Um, so there was not really any fear there. However, if they do pick up the Ori here, I don't hate it. It's a hard matchup mid. But the Nocturne does fix the matchup for you post 6, as we see Victor get picked up, which I don't hate. It has the same issue as Ori in the matchup with slightly more range, um, but it does offer that uniquely strong scaling that Anivia also shares. Um, I'm expecting just jungle counter pick here, probably like a Jax or something. I'm not too familiar with the TMG's player pool, but I imagine it's just generic Bruiser as we see the Wukong get hovered. And then I'm most likely expecting AD to get picked, so probably Ezreal if they're looking at Karma, or Karma if they're looking at Israel. Um, could be anything really. I also think Varus is quite strong in this particular situation where you already have these combo characters, but we did just see the Ornn get picked up for top lane, which I don't hate. Nice little combo team fighty character to go with the Wukong.
Yeah. I personally think here maybe the best option for the side of Skyloft is to pick the support. And I say that because just last night we did actually see a Victor APC. So I know it's not common, or excuse me, we saw a flex for a Victor APC. Oh wait, no. I'm going crazy. My apologies. We did, in fact, see Victor down on bot lane. So I would like to see them maybe. Okay, that's also fine as well. It keeps that flexibility open to the possibility of Victor going down on bot lane. But that does mean that they're going to be wanting to play through the bot lane, one way or the other. Whether it does end up being Victor and it's the flex, or if they are just saving those that R5 for the ADC, is very clear that Skyloft will want to be playing through that bot side and want to have a strong side bot, which is I think pretty good. I mean, they already technically got the top counter as they picked Ornn TMG in that R3 spot, which means Shen was able to make their way out, which I think is a very good lane matchup for them. Also really strong in the early, but also really solid in that mid game. So we'll be able to help keep the game alive. As you know, Victor is obviously going to have to take some time to scale. That is actually not a miss ban. I believe we just got word that that was a Samira ban away. So no, it was missed, but it's going to be a gentleman's agreement that is going to be Samira banned.
Yeah, and I think you can just put the Victor mid here, sack the bad matchup mid, and then probably lock the Jinx on 4 here for Glacial. It's one of his last remaining really strong characters, and they banned the Twitch, so that means CMG is probably also looking at it. We do have this double global comp thing going on right now, where we could also pair it with Tom Kench, the Jinx with the Tom Kench on 5, to cover for the Ornn, where now they've seen the angle here, so Glacial doesn't get a hyper carry, but he does get Sivir, which is also quite strong with the TK. Um, the top matchup, however, is something I wanted to touch on. The Shen does beat the brakes off of the Ornn early game, but as Shen starts building HP, the Ornn starts winning the matchup because of how his W and his brittle procs work. He just does percent health, nothing you can really do about it. And Shen doesn't have like an amazing trade back into it. As we see the Yunara get picked up, I'm just gonna expect a Millie or a Lulu to get locked in with it. Makes the most sense. Just turbo buff the Yunara, play for the Yunara with your team fighty combo comp. I think if an enchanter does get locked on the side of TMG, I think that the side of Skyloft should feel obligated to match it with like a Karma or something. Um, I still don't hate the Tom Kench or anything, but if Tom Kench has to play into Enchanter, it's a little bit more difficult to lane, despite the Sivir getting free prio the whole game. As we do see Brom get locked in, which is another really good Yunara pairing. And it does stop the Nocturne threat most of the time onto the bot lane with the passive procs. So I guess we'll see what the lock-in ends up being for Seeker. I still don't hate Tom Kench. It saves you from the insane combo. Uh, I also don't mind Tarek here if it's in the wheelhouse. I also think Karma's quite good at poking out the Brum. It's really just whatever version they're looking at grabbing. As you see the Rakan come in,
Okay.
which I don't hate. It's good engage. It gets past Brum shield, so you can tag up the Yunara. And it's actually not bad into Brum. You can just W forwards, E backwards, even with the not the brittle proc, the Brum passive on you. So I don't hate this. And it does fix the engage issue on the side of Skyloft Spire. They just kind of have to set up for him and maybe Shen ult on him to guarantee it.
Yeah, I do think having that secondary means they're engaging is actually probably the best option for them. Obviously, without that, I mean, Sivir's good, but that ultimate isn't a really big engage tool. It's more of either a go in or a get out tool. Meanwhile, obviously, Victor does damage, but is not a big engage, and same with Shen. Shen is very good at kind of amplifying a fight and being able to come in at that last second, obviously offering that shield with the global ultimate. But I mean, really, if they did not pick up the Rakan or another big engage, they would have been really, really reliant on this Nocturne, which is a very scary prospect. So I think Rakan kind of does best of both worlds. A really good engage tool as well as a little bit of tankiness to help in that bot lane. I do actually really like the Sever. I'm pretty sure Glacier's actually really good at Sever. I know Jinx is kind of their go-to, but I think Sever is also a really good secondary option for them. I like this composition a lot. Nocturne for me is always hit or miss. That's just a personal opinion. I've always been a little bit sketchy with Nocturne. It really feels like um, either it's a full-on home run and whoever picks the Nocturne does absolutely amazingly, or Nocturne just does absolutely nothing in the game. It just feels like that's the case for me. But besides that iffy pick for me, I really like this composition. I think Skyloft probably came out the better end, but I don't think it's by much.
Yeah, I don't think there's like a ton of difference between the two comps, aside from the actual team fight pressure from TMG. Uh, as I'm sure the scene will eventually go over and change over to them, but we do see Ornn Wukong Braum show up on the on this composition, which means we just have the press R go button comp, which is really easy to execute, as opposed to the SLS team, which kind of lacks that true hard engage. Like Rakan's pretty good at it. However, the issue is like once your Rakan goes in and your Nocturne goes in, if either of them get tagged up, especially the Nocturne by the Braum passive, they just die to Braum press plus Brittle. Nothing they can do. And Wukong gets pretty easy backline access against this team as well. So they have to just be really cognizant of essentially being able to navigate the early part of the fight before the Wukong ult comes out. Like they essentially have to mark this Wukong in order to be able to fight at all in general. I will say that if TMG ever tries to fight in a choke or stands on top of each other at all, the Sivir should go nuclear. Should just hit 3 item spike and just start shredding people. But um they have to get there, right? Like TMG, as long as they execute the press R button comp well, should just win. Um but yeah, I mean, I think with that, since this is League of Legends, we do have about a 3 minute spectator delay we have to wait for. So we will catch you guys going in after the spectator delay.
And we are getting into it. I was going to say game number one, but I guess it's just game number one of the night, as this is a singular best of one between TMG and Skyloft. TMG looking for their second map win of CCS. As we do see a pretty standard 5 point here. Nothing too crazy. A little bit of an invade. Emperor going to just be taking a little bit of damage, actually quite a bit of damage to get that ward down. Emperor already below half health, but is going to be able to get away.
Yeah, and it's not gonna matter a ton for the Wukong. The Nocturne's probably not going to invade him at all this game. If he does, it'd be to split them up for his top laner or his bot laner. But he should just be able to hit his Raptors and heal back to full during his full clear, because that character just gets free armor and health regen from his passive. As we see a little bit of trading coming out top lane from the Shen. This is pretty much what I expect from this matchup. The Shen should really bully the Ornn as much as he can, or pre-6 before junglers hit 6 as well, so that he can try and assert dominance in this lane, because he wants to get as many grass stacks as possible, so he does more and more damage. Kind of a similar situation for the Victor. The moment Anivia hits 6, she will have a ton of wave push. Just looking at general things in the game here, we do see that the Rakan took exhaust for the Yunara ulti, as he gets stunned up here in a little trade. I think that's a good pickup. He went Guardian this game as well, which I think is a little bit different from some other Recon players. I think they still take the inspo tree that lets you change your Summoner Spellbook. That's what it's called, right? Some of them still take Summoner Spellbook to do some crazy stuff on map, like TP top on a roamer or whatever. But as you see, big trade coming out for Galix into Pine. As they both hit 3 here. He might look for an all-in. The Q comes down, the E comes out, and they're just going to walk it out.
Yeah, the exact opposite of what we called and what we expect here. Is Pinaholic having to play that a little safe. Emperor is going to be able to come back. Is going to start, but see that the blue buff has just been taken away. Witch Hat is going to be able to get that and run away without stalling their own clear all that much. That's going to be a pretty big win for that Nocturne, as well as just denying some more CS and as well that buff onto the Wukong. That's going to be pretty darn good for them, as it's a pretty neutral state for the game overall. Nothing too crazy. Notably, a Bongo having a little bit of advantage in terms of levels. Obviously, it just became 4-4, but Bongo obviously a little bit higher. So is going to be the one to reach 6 first. You'd imagine if they're going to make an all-in moment or they're going to try to find the pick early, it's going to be off the back of that level 6 upgrade.
Yeah, and I mean, Victor's trying to push this wave in to get the bounce here, same as the Skyloft bot lane here. They want to shove this wave to get a bounce so that they can get ganked here. All things considered, the invade that the Nocturne did didn't really do too much. The Wukong actually got the winning end of that trade, because Wukong's path was Raptors, enemy blue, enemy Gromp. So the Wukong is technically up 1 camp on this clear. As long as he rotates back in, as you see a small trade coming through, I don't think this is going to have anything happen here, despite the Wukong being here. As mid lane's really low, Bongo's looking to get egg. We see the stun come
Okay.
out for little poke. As the Shen goes in here, just trading across the map as he gets his 3 autos in and just walks it out. But yeah, as long as the Wukong reinvades on the Gromp respawn, which he's attempting to do here, but he just doesn't have the prio for it, he's 1000% up on XP, but he has to just walk away and go hit his Raptors and recall, is what most likely is going to happen here, as he tries to take a little peek on mid.
Yeah, not too much to say. Very slow start for both of these teams. Really, the only big play is that Nocturne getting that extra blue buff. So they're going to have a little bit of a CS advantage in that regard. But besides that, it's pretty it is pretty even across the board, even on gold. Both teams are very clearly just wanting to play. I mean, there's a lot of carries in this game, a lot of hyper carries that are going to scale pretty darn late. Most of the pressure, I'm assuming, is going to be through the top side, which Pinahog is finally getting a little bit of control up there, but maybe a little bit too late. Like you said, level 6, it's going to become a very different story, and they're only 1 level away now. This is a shaping to be a very interesting game. I could see this one even going pretty darn long, as I think both compositions want to play for that late game spike.
Yeah, and both teams, I think, consciously drafted at least one character that is just allowed to free clear waves under towers. Skyloft with the Sivir and the Victor, and TMG with the Unara passive whenever she has it, but mostly at the Anivia as well, doing a lot of that wave clearing for these late game scenarios where they kind of just have to chill and try and hold and turtle. But yeah, I mean, the game is like entirely even right now. The Anivia is up like one wave. The Sivir's making up the difference down in bot lane for them. As we do see that the Anivia's buy might be a little weird for some people. She is up like 50 gold, but she got a later base, so her base is actually slightly better than Victor's. But yeah, the side of Skyloft is going to start up this dragon, and it is most likely going to be secured as Anivia does not have lane prowler right now. And Victor's looking to get his recall in just now. As they see the Anivia on this ward, she's just warding and walking back mid. So they're just going to smite that up and secure it in. And I just want to go back to these Anivia items really quickly. I'm sure that this is going to turn into a Roa. But I don't know why we didn't immediately buy the tier here instead of the Ruby Crystal. It's a little odd to me. As you just see a little bit more trading coming out top. I think Galax might look at a R all-in, possibly, once he has enough mana here on his next rotation, but that key missing makes it a little bit more difficult on the level up.
Yeah. I mean, Hench took over the Drake. That's without too much problems. Does make me think that they are going to want to go for these grubs. Obviously, it's always difficult. As we see Galax getting pretty low. Pinaholic is going to try to make something happen here. Is a level behind and is finally just going to have to back away. Not going to be able to do too much in that scenario, but is going to be able to stick around in lane to get a little bit of extra CS as this bot lane continues to trade back and forth. Right now, definitely seems like the advantage is in TMG's favor. Every time we look down here, it does feel like Glogan and Cool One are just kind of pushing this wave forward. However, with that being said, you'd imagine most of this game is going to be fought around the next major objectives. Obviously, that next one is going to be the grub, so I'm expecting something to unfold here relatively soon. Unless, I mean, Skyloft are either willing to just give that major objective away since they got that first strike.
Yeah, and I mean, crucially, we're gonna see Galax misses QE knock up on the TP. But Pineholic builds the TM out here so that he can actually start shoving this wave and showing up to stuff now that he's 6. But crucially, in the top lane, as we see a big trade come out as Wukong is on his way to fight here. The Ornhorn's coming
Okay.
out.
Yeah, Pinaholic does dodge out of the way just barely, but the flash is invested to get them to safety. But it is going to keep them alive. Witch Hat is in the area as well as Seeker. So this could be a big play. Does come through, but unfortunately hits Emperor, but Emperor is able to get away without too much issue. But now I don't know if they see Seeker. Actually, yeah, they will. They see it off the ward in the bush. But that is going to pretty much just be this objective secured. I say that as cool and actually has made their way up. This is going to be a 2v2, maybe to divulge into a 4v4 if the top laners make their way down, as mid lane is already. Seeker is gonna go in off the ultimate. The damage coming out from the Victor is absolutely insane. Wukong has to back away. Emperor trying to get away with their life, and looks like they might just do so, but way too low of health bars left for them to really have a say for the rest of it. It ends up being a 0-for-0. No one falls, but the grubs do get taken by Skyloft.
Yeah, and I mean, that's our first big fight of the game, and honestly, nothing really happened. We got Wukong Flash and Nocturne Flash, because the Nocturne flashed for the Wukong and was met with an Anivia wall. So, I mean, I think to the detriment, as we see, to the detriment of the Nocturne ulti there, the target focus was actually really bad. Like, we went full in on the Wukong there when we probably should have went full in on the Anivia. Just because getting her egg is really crucial, and she's way less mobile than the Wukong is. However, I will say that that is a big win for the top lane fight that happened beforehand. I know, like, not dying there means that he does get to continue to pressure this lane, which is quite nice. One thing I will point out is that the Yunara is down about 20 farm, and I mean, this lane has been completely isolated, right? Like, there's been no jungle intervention or anything. Glacial's just doing a really good job of playing his wave state and freezing as much as he can to get whatever, small meaningful advantage he can into the Yunara. As I do believe the Yunara has pretty good scaling into this matchup. As we see some trading coming out top, which I think Galaxy is just gonna keep continuing to lose until Pineaholic has like 2 items done at the same time as Galax.
Yeah, Pinehawk's actually done a pretty darn good job. I remember going into that fight that led into the little skirmish down in the Grubs pit. He was actually a level down. So not only has he caught up in levels with Galax, but he's actually now surpassed them at 9 to 8. So Pinaholic doing a really good job at stabilizing this lane. I say stabilizing this lane. It's nothing been crazy. There's still been no kills on the map yet, and we are now approaching the 12-minute mark. Both of these teams are playing so careful, which does make sense. Obviously, no one wants to be the team to give up a lead early, and you can see that here. The moment they see Seeker, they just back away. Both teams know it's the best of one. This is their one chance to make it to playoffs, and neither team is willing to give that up for nothing, as Emperor might be trying to look for an angle on the Seeker, but Seeker is just going to fall back to the safety of their ADC.
Yeah, and we're gonna get probably a ginormous fight here for first blood on this dragon because everybody's kind of hovering it right now. Seeker and Glacial obviously pushed the wave to try and attempt to play for this. They're going to see this
Right.
control ward in the back of the pit, and I wonder if they are going to attempt to contest as we see everybody walking around the pit.
Glacial sitting on the other side of the map is going to be able to help clear out this wave. So we'll continue to keep pressure. Bongo slowly making their way down. This is going to end up being a 4v4. Could be a 5v5, especially since the ultimate is still in the pocket of Pineaholic. So keep that in mind. That could be massive. And you imagine that will come through, especially as TP comes out from Galax onto the mid lane. For the time being, it's 5v4, but that's fine when you have the Shen as that last man standing. Drake is finally going to get started. Gonna be a very slow take here. The Victor is going to offer a little bit of pressure on the backside, so they need to keep this close. Galax is being used as a tool as they both go in. The smite comes through. Blue team comes out on top as they are able to find the Drake and find the damage. It was quiet until we heard the bang, and that bang is a triple going over the TMG.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm not sure if we're gonna get a replay for this fight. But basically the thing that sparked the beginning of the fight is the Nocturne ulted in first, before the Ornn ulti came down. The only like caveat of going down 3-0 and losing the second Drake here is that your Shen does get 4 plates and 3 waves here. But I mean, it's not that big enough of an advantage to make up for 3 assists that are now on Galax. It's about the same amount of gold, assuming that every assist was about 150 gold. And Pine does still need to reset and buy, and Galax is hard trading into him with an item advantage, so Pineholic does just have to run away and luckily doesn't have to burn his flash because there's no Ornn Horn available. But yeah, I mean, the fight from the side of TMG was really, really clean. They just waited for the Nocturne to come in. The Wukong obviously held his smite because both junglers were at 1k smite at the time as they're about to upgrade to that big 1400 number. And yeah, I mean, they just played the press R comp, right? Like, they, I guess the calm was for Nocturne to steal, and for some reason, everybody went in. Victor had to blow his flash. Nocturne got blown up. I believe Glacial was no, it was Rakam that was the other one that died, and I mean he didn't even blow his summons, right? He just pressed R and died. So that'll be the big thing for the next couple of fights is we need to be able to like be at the fight contesting the Ornn and not letting him move for free, which I think is why Pineaholic is building towards these clearing like fast clear wave clear items to make the Ornn at least lose more when he does show up to these fights extremely early like he did.
Absolutely, but that is going to be first blood going over to blue side TMG. Is maybe it's actually going to find a pretty nice stud. That's going to be a really good trade coming out from the bird. We do see a little bit of that counter. Actually, ultimate invested by Obongo is going to keep CLT a little bit farther back. So That's going to be something nice. But Wukong having the read that they're being counter jungled is going to get into the action themselves. Rift Herald is up, and it looks like it is just being secured. 3 members to 0, as the Shen is certainly aware, but can't really do anything about it. Meanwhile, on the other side of the map, it looks like they're going to try to find some value elsewhere as they are all flooding towards this bot lane.
Yeah, and I mean they were attempting to look at a dive, but they don't know where the Anivia went. I think they're assuming that she's already back in base now, but they are most likely going to pick up first tower here, as the Shen, despite there being 4 people here, should still, or I guess it's 3 people in the Wukong clone, should still be able to clear this wave once the crash comes down. As we see the crash coming down now, and he should just be able to Tiamat proc everything here. He's going to taunt up some people, and they're going to start taking some tower shots. The Brum's going to take 2 tower shots and go down to half HP, but the wave is clear, and now Bongo is here to give him some backup, as we might look for a re-engage, but it is still 3v2, so it might still be difficult, as we see everybody kind of just simmer down and walk away from this attempted interaction.
Yeah, Wukong not being spotted out here could find an angle onto the Rakan, but don't think they're going to. They're just going to try to go for that clear to the red buff as Abanga needs to be safe. Braum comes in. Meanwhile, a big dive onto the mid lane. That is one dead bird. Roast up the chicken. That egg is not going to save the Anivia, as finally we see a bounce back here from Skyloft, who are able to finally get first blood on the board for them.
Yeah, and I mean, important to note, it definitely looked like the Nocturne was kind of ulti top there, but crucially, he goes mid where they have all overloaded, and they do end up picking up that kill, and them doing that actually, this is the first, like, semi-gold lead of the game, despite TMG getting, you know, the first 3 kills of the game with the first blood on the dragon at the first team fight. They weren't really up that much gold. They were up like 100, 200-ish gold. But with all the plates and first tower and all the like, plus the kill here now for Skyloft Spire, they've now spiked to now what is about a 400 gold lead. But before it was around 800 before the bases came through, as we're going to see the gold start to spike back up as the CS numbers come back through. However, we do see on the side of Skyloft, as the Ornn's looking for an attempted engage. Here comes the Wukong. The Rakan's going to knock him up.
Oh, yeah.
And the shield's going to come back out onto the Sivir as the Anivia TPs in. And they're going to look to try and force this tower, I think. They're forcing mid-prio to attempt to get to the dragon here, which I think will not be a contest from the side of Skyloft, as Shen is looking to push out top and get more tower plates, and Ornn is recalling. And Obongo's just going to throw a little bit of poke and, you know, get out of there scot-free, hopefully. Oh, we're seeing Ornn come in.
No, they want it knocked up airborne as they try to make their way through. But Seeker and Glacial are going to be able to pull back. Seeker having that ability to disengage is going to be out without any issues, as that was 2 turret platings taken by the Shen. So yeah, exactly like you said, they are super fine to give up that Drake. It's now only 2-1, so not quite at that soul point threshold. But in the end, Shen is actually able to get quite a lot of value, a lot of gold without losing too much, as they just do not even really attempt to have a say.
Yeah, I think the biggest like thing that Skyloft needs to do this game, they're already starting to do it. They're starting to overload lanes and look for picks and stuff. Because we aren't really great at team fighting until Sivir does hit that 3-item mark. We can just sit the Sivir mid, have her like AFK clear waves until she does hit this magical 3rd item, which I think will either be a PD or an LDR. She does have a dagger, so I'm assuming it's going to be a PD. And have the Rakan kind of just handhold the Nocturne on all of these like side lane engages. Because, I mean, for a time we did know that Ornn was flashless, but now we know Anivia is flashless, right? And she has no mobility, so if the Nocturne and the Rakan get in on her, good luck living, buddy. We are not at Zonia's, and we're definitely not at the Archangel staff yet. So I would personally like seeing overload on the side of the Anivia here, as the Nocturne is finally now looking for this. And we kind of just need to leave our Sivir alone and have some faith that Glacial is not going to run it down without his fill shield on an engage or anything here.
Yeah, as Baron does hit the rift. I mean, I doubt any team is going to quite go for it yet, as they do not have a lot of damage to burst through. So the only way they take it is if they can slow take it off the back of a team fight, which would require a practically full sweep from either end. Because we do see Cool One and Seeker getting into a mix of it, the two supports trading blows and just kind of tickling each other, really not doing any damage. But that is going to give away information that both of these sides are leaning towards this top end. They're very clearly aware of the Baron. They want to get some prior for it, or just kind of to prevent the other side from taking it. A Seeker is going to be found out, pushed back by Emperor, but it's just going to be some trade damage.
Yeah, I mean that was definitely probably a look angle for the Wukong there. I'm not sure why he didn't blow ulti and try and force the Rakan's ult or his flash there. Because everybody was in the vicinity there. Because we saw the Shen uh base and walk out bot as we're about to look at here, and these two guys are gonna start hard trading. Crucially, what I want to note is Shen is building Dusk and Dawn in this game, which I don't think is a great item for the team fight. However, what I do think it is good for is playing side lane as hard as possible. And I believe that is what Pinaholic is attempting to do, because this Ornn has to group to make his team's team fight as strong as it truly is. That means Pinaholic kind of does get to play these side lane fights, and Sivir can attempt to hold these waves.
Yeah. I mean, I say attempt to hold this wave. Sever's wave glare is absolutely insane. So is going to be able to do it without too much issue unless someone tries to have a say. Shen doing a pretty darn good job. I mean, again, right now it's 3-1 at 22 minutes. Both these teams are taking it super slow. I do believe one of the biggest threats on the board, however, is this Yunara 2-0-1 right now. Obviously, it's had a pretty big say in the last two team fights. However, the big thing for me is the fact that it's Hextech. This Hextech Drake and Possible Soul is going to be so valuable to Yunara in particular. She's probably one of the better ADCs to have Hextech Soul to work with. So that is going to be a big thing that Skyloft are going to want to deny, as Emperor tries to use the Hex Gate and is immediately going to be punished. Multiple members are spotted, which is going to force out potentially an early fight here. TP comes through. 4v5 for the time being. Actually, never mind. I can't count. It is 5v5 as Pinaholic is just over the wall as both teams slowly going to make their way back to the pit. 12 seconds left on the clock. Who is going to be the one to pull the trigger first? Because obviously neither team wants to give this one away, either keeping it 2-2 or trying to take the advantage. And first to hit it is going to be TMG. They're going to do pretty darn good to keep the advantage, take a good amount of space. Seeker very clearly looking for that backline angle. Should have ultimate in head as the Ornn ult comes through, but it's a little bit too early as now you have the Nocturne in the backline, but they blow up the Shen. And without that tankiness, Wukong is just shredding everyone down. And with it, so is the dreams of getting this Drake for Skyloft. That wall from Anivia is so clean, prevents the means of escape, and funnels them into one big death hallway. They'll find the Anivia, but that egg will protect them this time around. And now Seeker's off on their own. It should be able to get this recall, but man, very costly fight as TMG are looking alive here in the first round of the Gauntlet and may be looking for Baron next.
Yeah, and I mean, they definitely are going to attempt to hit this Baron. Witchat is going to be back on map to attempt to at least steal it, as we are looking at some Hex Gates coming through from the Nocturne. I think they have a vague idea that this is happening. He is most likely going to try and look for the steal, maybe. He doesn't have vision, so he's not actually going for it, as the Baron does go on to the side of TMG, and now they are all coated in purple. One thing I will note about the last fight is that, crucially, at the beginning of the fight, the Sivir wasn't there. Glacial, I guess, recalled for 2 daggers. I'm not really sure what that was about before the fight happened. Maybe he got chunked out or something. Um, But yeah, the Nocturne and the Shen went just a little bit too early with each other. And then they were too far split, so that when the Shen ulted on the Nocturne was basically already dead, and then he showed up with the Nocturne right before he died in backline, and then Sivir did not have access to play the fight because as she walked in, the Ornn Horn had hit her. So I think if Sivir had just a little bit more time to play that fight from the beginning, I think it would have been a way better fight for Skyloft, as we see now finally an Engage come out on Nocturne's terms, hopefully, as we see the Wukong ulti come out, the Rakan ulti's going, he's not going to stun anybody up, the knockup's going to come through, Nocturne's going to die, Rakan's going to die, then our Victor is going to get stunned up going melee range into the Yunara Anivia and also get taken down, and that's going to be a 3-0 on the side of TMG.
Yeah, and Skyloft just seemed to be bleeding out here slowly. We knew it was going to be a slow-paced game, but now we finally have a fight where SLS are able to set it on their own terms. Like you said, finally Nocturne gets a fight where they wish or where they get everything that they want. But now, already being 7-1, it's just not enough in the tank for them to actually win out the fight. And that is going to be 3-0. They're still wearing purple. The resets are going to mean they are going to lose a lot more now. They already are at the base turrets for the mid and bot lanes. Make that the top lane as well, as now there's now there's just the one exterior turret left standing, and it is the mid tier 2.
Yeah, and I mean, crucially for the side of TMG, they are playing the easier to execute comp here. And like I said in pregame, I actually think Nocturne is like completely unplayable here into Anivia Braum. I'm not really sure why we opted into this blind without like an Ori or anything. Because like looking at the side of Skyloft, who is engaging into the meat grinder that is the Anivia R into the Wukong R, right? It is so impossible, and if the Nocturne's going forwards alone, he is just getting blown up, as we saw from that fight. The Rakan was the one that got engaged on, the Nocturne went in, spell shielded the knockup from the Wukong, but still ate all of the damage from the second part of the Wukong ulti and the Anivia ulti, as we see a march down mid for this mid tier 2, which will be
Yeah.
briefly, will quickly picked up by the Demolish proc.
Yeah, now suddenly it is only the base turrets left standing. They're going to send 3 to try to deal with any waves that come through, but I mean, there's very little they can do at the current moment. Notably, purple is gone. No more Baron buff, but just 45 seconds until the next Drake.
Yeah, and I mean, this is a dragon that's extremely crucial for the side of Skyloft to try and get if TMG with their comp, who's already ahead around 8,000 ish gold, picks up this Hextech Soul. Uh, I do not see a world where Skyloft ever wins the game unless Ornn gets DDoS and they have to FF or something. It is physically impossible to play against this meat grinder comp uh, while they have Hextech Soul perma slowing you, infinite CDR, procking the electrocution proc across your whole team, and them all getting slowed up. It's just so hard, right? As we see a little scuffle over mid prio, and the dragon is already being hit. It's about 4k. The Ornn ulti is going to come down. The Nocturne ulti is going to come down. They just don't have vision of the dragon, and the Ornn is just going to walk away after ulting as the Shen goes in with the ulti, and Anivia has to flash away. The Rakan ulti comes out. The Wukong is going to start ulting, and Shen's fighting in the back line, and there's 2 fights on 2 separate fronts. The Sivir is already down, and all of the carries are still alive on TMG as they're going to try and march them down while the Anivia recalls and looks for a TP to end the game.
Yeah, that was a massive team fight there. I mean, really good spacing coming out from that Ornn, keeping the entirety of SLS too far back to have vision on Drake. And in the end, it just gets stolen right out from under them. They now have Hextech, and I 100% agree with you. I really don't see a world in which they can bring this back, but they will certainly try. Though TMG looking really pretty. Only two members of their team have fallen, and it's been a while since one last fell. Yunara, now with the Hextech, like I said, which is super scary, is now 5-0-5, 700 gold bounty with IE Krakens as well as that third item. I mean, this is looking like a barrel that is terrifying to look down if you are SLS, and I struggle to see how they are going to make their way out. I imagine the plays are skirmishing. They've obviously been waiting for a lot of plays to kind of happen around them. They've been waiting for these major objective fights. I think they need to change up the strategy, try to find angles in which they can get the numbers advantage. This notably is not one of them, as it is a 5v2, and I have a sneaking suspicion that the bot lane of SLS are not going to be able to live through the full onslaught of this. And no, they are not, as now this tier 3 is certainly turned to ash, and Hib is going to be falling soon as well. And I don't think they end here, but they're definitely going to do a good amount of damage to the base of SLS. Actually, Wave is here. Nocturnal comes through. Don't know if they're actually going to invest, but they're going to use it for the near site. They might just try to go for an end here. Shen's going to come through, so has that shielding, but no Shen ult to play around. But they have finally dealt with the minion wave. Imagine TMG gonna maybe play a little bit safer. No, this is gonna be attempt to end. They're just gonna try to end it here. Glogan is able to free hit this turret. There's no protection on the Nexus anymore, but now it is a full retreat as it is 5v5. Though if they can find a singular pick, they might just turn around. But no, they are not. They are going to take their wins and run, go for a recall, and reset once to try to end the game in their next attempt.
Yeah, and I mean, this gold lead is really deceptive, right? For the side of TMG, it says they're only about up 7k gold, as we might look for a Baron sneak here if the Silver Kings start hitting it fast enough, which it might be a little bit too slow. But the gold lead is deceptive here, right? On the walk back, TMG only has about 3k-ish gold. Whereas as we see a TP coming through, it looks like we're about to see the final fight of the game once the Ornn gets into position for this ulti. But what I was going to say is, as they're walking into the side of TMG, TMG and SLS have about the same amount of gold. So if SLS was able to find a way to engage there and fight them, I actually don't think it was that bad for them. But now there's about the 7k gold lead plus the Ornn items, which is another about 4,000-ish gold worth of stats on top of that. So you're looking at about an 11k gold lead plus the dragons. So all of the stats come together is about 13k, 14k-ish gold lead for the side of TMG. So they should be able to close this out. However, we do see the Wukong slightly looking for an engage here.
Yeah, that's going to be a lot of damage done to Seeker, who has to back away. They have to respect this fight. Baron is up. You'd imagine they are going to try to go for it, especially since the support and their big engage tool is just missing. I would not be surprised if we see something similar to what we saw in the last Drake fight, and that's exactly what's going to happen. Four are going to start it, and they are just melting this Baron, King of the Rift, no more. Though they do have Witch at Black Mass, who is making this flank. Maybe a possibility of a sneak here, but Galaxy doing a good job of keeping the rest of the team away. But it looks like maybe they're going to try to back away, go for a turn, but CLT is still trying, but no. Okay. Baron is secured. They're going to wear purple, notably if they want to be extra cautious. There is the Elder Drake up in just about a minute and 10 seconds. I don't think it's necessary, but even if they aren't able to end off of this push, which I think they will regardless, they will have that secondary objective to fall back on.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't even think that the Elder is necessary here. Both of these towers, the second
That's
one that is
dead
going to
Pineholic.
come up. Yep,
One
Pineholic
dead
is
shed.
definitely dead here as we
Ooh.
see the Wukong ulti come out. The Ornn is going to pick up the first kill of the fight. The Wukong ult 2 comes out. The second and third and fourth kill of the fight is going to go over to this Yunara, as the Nexus Tower is going to come back, and Glacial is going to fight for his team's life, as we see TMG double their wins finally and take the victory away from SLS. And you will see that the second team eliminated, also from Group B, the group of seconds, it seems, is going to be SLS. Goodbye. We will miss you, but TMG has put the final nail in the coffin.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people just lost channel points. I'm pretty sure, not to spill the tea a little bit, but Sutek, I think you just lost a lot of channel points, if I understand correctly
Yeah,
as
yeah,
well.
my free
Um,
bucks were on SLS, that's for sure. But you know, this isn't the first time the Spire as an orc has, you know, let me down. So
yeah.
I'm not surprised.
Hey, like I said, hunger dogs run faster, and man, TMG were hungry. They were looking for a shot at playoffs, and despite being the bottom of the table after 8 weeks, they are now suddenly just a singular game away from at least making it to the lower bracket, at least giving them one shot at greatness here. But notably, that does also mean that they are going to come in with an advantage. They're going to be feeling really, really strong going into I mean, it's going to be theory of everything. Who is coming off of a big win yesterday? So this, I'm expecting this next series to be an absolute bang out. But Sutek, before we go over there, obviously we got to set it over to a break. Any final thoughts about this series before we move on to the next?
Yeah, my final thought is my fault for putting Fiddlesticks as my avatar profile. I thought we were going to lock in our one trick. Nocturne needs to be packed up. And good job to TMG for doubling your wins. We'll see you guys in, I guess, 5 to 10 minutes as both teams get set up and into the lobby for the best of three of the night that we're starting at 9 o'clock. So we'll catch you guys on the flip
Okay.
side, and good luck to TMG for this next series.
I wasn't around when you chose the next model. That's
Welcome back, everybody, to the CCS, where we are about to witness TMG versus TOE. And I am your color caster, Sutek, the Gromp. And this is my play-by-play, Soren, who has just finished eating his food after
just
game one. And we are here with the draft about to go live as we see some bands coming through. We have the Leona on the side of, I believe, TMG, and the Bard from the side of TOE. I am expecting a nice, awesome set today after the game that we just saw because TMG's here to play. They're actually alive, finally. For
yeah.
once in the whole tournament, they're finally looking like they are trying to win. Thank heavens for that. And maybe we can replicate it for one series.
I got my composure back. I'm good. I will say right now TOE are feeling really good. Theory of Everything, we got to watch them yesterday. They put on a really good performance about XSV Rush, which is the reason XSV Rush are playing in the Gauntlet right now. They actually dropped down into the Gauntlet placements after having a playoff spot secured. So they kind of yanked the rug out from under XSV. So that match is happening at the exact same time over on the second channel, by the way. But here, I mean, they're going to be feeling really good. They're going to have a lot of confidence coming into this match. I'm not surprised to see that Garen get banned away. Theory of Everything have been bringing out some very interesting compositions. We got a little bit of insight that they were are really digging in deep to try to find some interesting picks to pull out here, catch some people off guard, and find some good combos that really help change up. And we saw that yesterday, double like global ultimates, kind of what we saw in the last game, but they use it really, really well rather than that Nocturne and the Shen. We were seeing combinations of like Pantheon and Galio having that obviously really good fighting potential with those big AoE like entrances from global range. So they were finding a lot of value in that regard. Another thing that we did see from them is that they did, in fact, sell their souls. They are very firmly on the APC train. So Mel is technically a flex here, but Mel and Seraphine is a combination we saw yesterday. I would not be surprised if that just ends up being the bot lane. And in return, we see TMG say, okay, that's fine. We're going to get our bot lane too, as they are going to pick up the Yunara. They already have some good reps on it today, as well as the Karma.
Yeah, and we do see the Jarvan come down, which is pretty typical for when you see these mage bot lanes. He's very good
Yeah.
at just locking them up and engaging on them so that you can slam all the rest of your guys' combos on them. However, the smell is still technically a flex, and we can still see not an APC come out bot lane here on pick 3, as we see Commander Caxi lock in his world-famous Amumu, and I'm going to suspect that after this Olaf ban is hopefully going to be a Silas ban, or maybe he's just him and he does not care if CLT locks in the Silas, as we see the Yorick band come out as a top cover band, which I do believe that JP is most likely going to get R5 here. That's a pretty typical thing that TOE tends to do for him.
And on top of that, yesterday we saw, and there is the Silas band, so not too surprising there. But the York band is also a very heavily target towards JP. JP, I hesitate to say embarrassed, but did absolutely run through the entirety of XSV last night on the Yorick pick. So I have a sneaking suspicion we are going to get a Yorick ban pretty much every single map, unless they keep it in the second wave, and for some reason TOE elect to take it in that first wave of champions. But yeah, I'm not surprised to see. Actually, kind of both. If it ends up being the Mundo, okay, they're going to ban the Scion. Mundo was the other character that he did incredibly well on yesterday. So I mean, they're going to put a lot of pressure on them. That's three top bands focusing on JP, who was a big reason why they won yesterday. So not too surprised. As we see the Yone, technically that is a flex. I'd imagine that's going mid. I don't think JP typically plays characters like Yone, so you imagine that's going to be going down mid. But in theory, maybe they could be pulling out something crazy and you know, trying to switch up the tempo a little bit, especially seeing as I do have that R5.
Uh, yeah, I mean, the Yone coming down makes me believe that TMG is most likely going to look at a Lissandra, possibly. Yeah, as we see the Lissandra get hovered, I'm a prophet. Um, it's just good at locking down the character in the lane and kind of preventing him from, getting to that scaling, especially when you have a Jarvan who can also provide some of that really strong lockdown. It makes your life really, really easy dealing with this Yone. And even if the Yone is behind, we can still use that combo on the Mel so that she cannot reflect all of our abilities and just survive every fight and blow us up. So that's also nice. We are looking at blind top laners from the side of TMG, and I don't know that I 100% agree with Galio with the pool that JP has. I think Mundo kind of just dog walks this team. Yeah, as we see that get picked up immediately by JP. The only champion on the entire side of TMG that can kill this window is Yunara, and she has to get to 5 or 6 items, I think. Whichever item slot she's allowed to finally fit the Bork after the crit items. Then JP can finally die on this window. But I will say, I mean, we did see the APC Mel come out. Mel is for sure going bot lane with this
Yeah.
Seraphine. And this is not a fun lane for the Yunara at all. So even though TMG's comp is very, very simple, again, we have, again, the bot lane hyper carry with engage out of jungle, mid, and top this time, instead of having the Anivia. It is a strong comp, but again, we have to get to that team fight phase, and I think ToE is a lot more well versed at these later game team fights. That's where they've really showed up in their games. They don't typically find a very early lead, as far as I know. And I think Toe's team fight is equally as strong. You have insane scaling from the Mel, the Mundo, and the Yone, who all, with the exception of Mundo having the a more lackluster ulti for team fighting. Um, the Amumu makes up for it as with the Seraphine. So both teams have really big ultis that let them play fights how they want to play them. But I do give Toe the advantage here for just straight ulti wars.
Yeah, I do agree with that. I do really fear what we could see from JP on the Mundo. Um, yeah, that I think could be a really big problem for them. Um, uh, Man, I also just think that the team fighting potential is a lot greater. I mean, we saw what they could do into a Jarvan, and they really didn't get punished hard by Jarvan in their series last night. And I think their game against XSV will have been a little bit more of a difficult matchup. So they already know how they're going to play this matchup into the J4. Like you said, that bot lane matchup is not going to be in their favor. The top lane matchup is not going to be in their favor. I really think Theory of Everything have kind of done really well in their fighting. I do believe we have a little bit of a switch up here. JP the boss is on the Mundo, and Odysseus, I believe, is going to be on um, the Yone. So I do think we do have a slight graphic issue there, but you have the general idea. I really think Caxi on that Amumu is going to be a really big problem. We already know that Caxi is really good on the Amumu. When I would like to see them be a little bit less lost at times today. I know yesterday there was a lot of times where Caxi was just kind of roaming around, seemingly looking for their next thing to do. If their team can help them stay on track and keep in the fight as much as possible and continue to get small wins, I really struggle to see how I really struggle to see many teams being able to stop the rolling ball that is this TOE roster.
Yeah, and I mean, I really have a lot of faith after that last game watching TMG play. They took all of the fights that they took were on their own terms. They had enough discipline to walk away from fights that were bad for them. The only thing that I am concerned about is their team fighting because we gave Commander Caxi his Amumu, and Axie is just known for this character. He I think he has something like an 80 or 90% win rate playing this character. He almost certainly never loses when this is locked in. And I mean, bot lane is already a hard matchup. So as long as we focus bot lane, use our ultis bot, use our engages bot, get them a lead, this Yunara should almost certainly never see the light of day in this game. um, I have Toe winning this game personally. I know you also said something similar, Soren. Um,
Yeah.
Unfortunately, this is League of Legends, so we do have a spectator delay going into this game. So we will catch you guys on the flip side for game one of TMG versus Toe for the final spot in the playoffs.
And we are underway. Game number one of this is best of three to decide which team is going to go on to, not grand finals, to playoffs here. One of the last spots available. It's going to be decided between TMG, the biggest underdog in the league right now, versus Theory of Everything, who's coming in off the back of a lot of momentum. JP and Caxi are in the area looking for Emperor, and they are going to be able to get a ward down. So that's going to get some good vision onto this blue buff. And it looks like there's not going to be too much in response. JP is going to take a little bit of damage there, but is more than happy to take that in response to getting a good amount of vision for their jungler, as well as the information on where that blue side jungler is going to be starting up.
Yep, and what I would like to point out is both top laners are playing the best skin for their characters, as we see Gundam Galio and Corporate Mundo battling it out in the top lane. I appreciate the skin choices. You guys are the goats. Anyway, some interesting things we get to see this game. The support Seraphine doesn't have Comet. She has Aerie, which I don't think is normal. I'm pretty sure Comet is standard because you guarantee it with E. I could be entirely wrong, but I'm pretty sure that's how the character works. Regardless, we see instead of Conqueror on the Amumu, we see Taxi decided to take Aftershock so that he can hit his Q, run in, press R without dying, and walk away from these fights. Another interesting thing that we see, the Yunara took cleanses. We see big trades coming out from Glogan again, as he's trying to style on this bot lane that is supposed to be bullying them. He is somehow finding priority and chunking them out at the same time, as he now has HP advantage against the Mel for like the rest of this lane until she TPs.
Yeah, I mean, pot's having to be used, but it's not going to do enough, especially when Glogan is able to get back to full. So that is going to be a very difficult lane to exist in now for this red side, though. At this point, you don't want to back away as it's just a little bit too early. We do see that spell immunity break, which does mean that the Mundo is able to be knocked up there. Good trade coming out from the Galio. Both of the extremities, which are supposed to be weaker for TMG, are actually coming out on top in these early trades.
Yeah, and I mean, obviously, Mundo most notably known for his how terrible his lane phase is. That champ is absolutely abhorrent in some of these lanes. And Galio actually has enough CC in his kit. As long as he lands E, his W is guaranteed, so he will always get Mundo passive. The problem is he will almost never kill Mundo after one item. So he really has to put on the Jets here and trade well, as we saw, the Galio just used all of his mana to try and get good trades and get the wave D pushing, but Mundo can just force the push no matter what because he doesn't care about his HP bar. He does exactly that, trades back into Galax for the long trade because guess what? He's Mundo, he does what he pleases, and then he gets out of there, takes his recall, goes and buys a Reju bead, I believe is still what it's called, and a ruby crystal. So now he is part of the way to that fancy schmancy Warmogs, as he likes to build first. Hopefully before the Heartsteel, which I think is still correct, according to the GOAT, Alois.
Yeah, absolutely here. But we do see that those full recalls have come through, mostly here on the backside, or excuse me, the downside here. We're actually going to get just the one back from TMG's bot lane. But Theory of Everything's going to use the opportunity to go back themselves and try to keep a little bit of an item advantage. As a trade happens in the mid lane, right now, Odysseus definitely coming out the weaker end, down to just about a quarter of their health. We did also see during that beginning phase that the scuttles were traded away as Caxi went for that top scuttle rather than fighting for bot. A little bit of prio towards the bot side, but Caxi is going to go in, find the stun. He's going to be able to do quite a bit of damage, but with no ultimate on hand, is not going to be able to find the kill, but is at least going to relieve a little bit of the pressure off of Odysseus, who's going to be able to get this wave without too much hassle. Daigen tries to go back to see if they can prevent that recall, but is not going to be able to do so.
Yeah, and I mean, Caxi crucially gets Lissandra's flash, which is a nice cooldown to get. Although it is Lissandra, she most likely is just going to E away from any type of danger. But it is a good look from Caxi. It was the one angle to actually attempt to kill the Lissandra, as we see the side of TMG looking to start up this dragon before the enemy. I think Seraphine needs to take our recall, maybe, or maybe she just got off recall. So they might end up checking this, but I doubt it. They don't have mid pro, so it's a little difficult. So TMG is going to pick up the first dragon of the game, which is a nice little change of pace from the last game, because against Skyloft managed to sneak that away from them. So Empress just a little bit more on the ball on this one.
Yeah, absolutely. Which I do actually like a lot. I mean, TMG obviously were kind of happy to trade that away in the last game, mainly because they knew that that game was going to go long, so they didn't have to worry too much about it. However, this game, TOE are not going to be anywhere near as passive as Skyloft were. I mean, we could already see the trading happen back and forth, how aggressive they are. We already had Caxi try to go in and find the Lissandra, and as I speak it into existence, as Lissandra is able to get away the first time, not away the second time, as Caxi is able to get that pick. And that is going to, or excuse me, actually goes over to the Yone. Meanwhile, down on bot side, Alex tries to find Glogan, but unable to get the final hit. But yeah, like I said, they do a pretty good job of getting that first strike, because this time around, they're not going to be able to get that for free and just have a nice, easy, slow start to the game. TOE are playing fast and they're playing aggressive.
Yeah, and I mean, honestly, TOE is also playing loose too. I mean, Caxi, notably, I used to coach Caxi, and I've played, alongside him for quite some time now, and he is most known for not ganking mid, and he is doing the opposite of that. He has looked nothing but mid so far this game, catching out the Lissandra the first time, getting her flash, and then this time at 6 going and blowing her up with the double ulti coming out. She just is getting camped. what can you do? How can play League of Legends when 3 people in my lane, right? It's because Seraphine's also been mid this game, as the fruitions have come to pass. The double mage bot is now forcing the Yunara to lose waves, and Yunara is already down 30 farms. So it's a bit of a repeat from last game against SLS, where this Yunara drops a ton of waves just to try and stay relevant in the game and not die. And hopefully the side of TMG tries and does find a advantage elsewhere, as we see the grubs are just about to spawn, but both junglers are on the bot side of the map right now, and nothing is likely to happen. I just want to point out something funny that has happened. Instead of building a giant belt, the Mundo has decided to build 3 ruby crystals. which I think is not. It might be more gold efficient, but it is funny to look at.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, that is also going to... Ooh, never mind. We do have a little bit of a skirmish as J4 pops the Cataclysm, but the flash, well timed from Alex, means they're not going to be trapped in there for a second. Meanwhile, we see mid and jungle starting to make their way down, but they also catch the retreat of TMG Emperor going back to the safety of their own jungle, and that is going to force Odysseus and Caxi to just try to go for this scuttle and take that little skirmish and just give up that bot lane flash without too much hassle. Caxi's just going to continue to sit in mid, even if Lysandra's not aware of it quite yet, but will be made aware. But that Q goes a little bit wide. But ult goes in. Okay. Odysseus pops it, but there's just no follow-up there from Caxi, unfortunately.
Yeah, I mean, we just isn't in range. Doesn't have the flash to get in a little bit further for that Q range. So unfortunately, the Yone R is for naught, as we see another little engage come through, and both jungles are looking on mid here, and I think... Oh, we see Jarvan go in, but... Oh, Amumu QR in. The Lysandra is going to ulti herself up, and she is going to fall to the Commander Caxi Amumu.
Yeah, another big pick this time. They trade the kill out, so instead of going to the Yone, it goes over to Caxi on the Amumu. I think that's pretty good regardless, because now Yone is still pretty far ahead. Lysandra's a step back, and now Caxi is also able to get a little bit of gold in their pocket to keep them ahead. I do want to point out the fact that JP has actually now fully gotten control of this lane. I say that as Galax actually goes in and does some seriously good damage, but in the end, both are just going to back away and almost within line of sight are going to try to... Okay, no, never mind. JP tried to stop the back, but was a little bit too late as the minion wave was there. Drake's up in 10.
Yeah, and Drake is spawning soon. The side of Toe is actually going to have priority for this as long as Caxi decides to not go to the grubs here. The German's going to get spotted out. Caxi's going to get spotted out. JP is going to start his ult preemptively so he gets a bit more HP. And Caxi is going to try and save JP, and he's just going to walk it on out as he puts his sleeves back on, and nothing happens.
Yeah, one really good, well-timed flash, and JP is out of there. On top of that, the health regen was crazy, even without Warmogs quite yet. That's going to be bought up with the next back, so you can care that this Mundo is going to become a serious problem, especially as it is not a Mountain Soul. A Mountain Drake will absolutely make this Mundo even scarier, as a little bit of extra tankiness is going to go a long way. Especially as this Drake is going to be started. It doesn't look like anyone's really moving towards it, despite not having real vision on mid lane. It looks like Lysandra is aware and at least starts making their way down to clear out some vision. But I think all of this effort is a little bit too late. Yes, it is, as Mountain Drake falls down. It's going to split it 2 and 2, or excuse me, 1 and 1, and that is going to be the Hextech Soul to fight for yet again.
Yeah, and I mean, even more so than last game. I mean, we said last game that it was strong as the Amumu is looking for an all-in, while the top laner is TPing in. Galio is going to taunt up the Commander Caxi Amumu, and he is going to get locked up and knocked down for his shutdown over to CLT.
Yeah, really good play. A lot of investment there, notably. An investment that is going to end up costing them a tower as Mundo continues to go where he pleases. And that is going to be right on past that tier 1, or at least what's left of it, the rubble. We do see J4 starting up grubs. Is going to be red and is going to run into this Mundo. Has to back away as JP the Boss is happy to take this fight, but is aware of the fact that Galax has to be nearby somewhere. They are just going to have to watch all 3 grubs get secured and then back away to safety.
Yeah, and I mean, if we're looking at the gold rate now, right? I do believe that this Mundo is probably up around 1,000, maybe even 2,000 gold on Galax. he does have the triple belt. He just bought the Mogs, and then he also just finished Swifties. So, I mean, there's about a 2k gold diff here, and now Mundo is also at the point of the game where he simply cannot die in side lane just to Galio. He basically chooses when he dies by not respecting the Jarvan and the Lissandra roam. The top tower is already dead. So if we really wanted to, and I think what's going to happen, as we see it come out now, the Yone is now going to lane top. Bot lane is going to completely swap out since all of the role quests seem to be done, and this window is just going to farm these side lane towers and become an insane threat. I think the next major thing that is going to happen this game is going to be for this Rift Herald. I think whichever team gets the Rift Herald is going to control a lot of the priority for the upcoming dragon in 2.5 minutes time.
Absolutely. But with that being said, we are getting a little bit of a slowdown, at least for the time being, but it's also coming off. I say that as immediately I am mistook. The Encore does end up finding Logan, who gets pulled back a little bit into the fray. Double TP's coming through. So much for a slow period as the entirety of TMG comes to the rescue of their bot lane. Caxi has to back away, cannot play around. An ultimate finds two, and the Yone is able to find something in response, making it a 1-for-1.
Yeah, and I mean, really, really crucial TP into ult combo from the Lissandra and the Galio. They both essentially landed at the same time, and Toe, obviously, the Mundo did not want to match this. He would rather just play for the tower, and I'm sure that was calmed. So once the Lissandra decided to TP, the Mundo probably calmed that, and Toe said, alright guys, let's cut our losses. Some of us are probably dying here, but it is fine because our Mundo is going to get another tower. And he is going to start building towards what I'm assuming this belt is going to turn into is a hard seal before the Titanic. And, I mean, the moment he starts stacking that, he's good as gold. And like I said, even though this fight did end up working out for the side of TMG, since they used every button imaginable, Toe now has this Rift Herald, and they can use this Rift Herald to break open mid lane on the spawn of Dragon and really force mid prio so that they are not going to be up a Dragon plus the additional gold. And JP cannot die here. It looks a little bit scary, but Jarvan even going for Flash R here, we are only burning Mundo Flash. He still has ulti. He probably could have stood in that Cataclysm with his art going and not died.
Yeah, I feel like TMG forgot the golden rule when going up against Mundo, which is that Mundo goes where he pleases, and Mundo wanted to get away. So Mundo gets away without too much hassle, only losing that flash. And now Mundo's becoming a real problem. Obviously, is now left that top lane after taking that tier 1, has now helped take the tier 1 down on bot side. I even imagine there's a possibility of seeing Mundo now on mid to see if they can get that next tier 1 and final tier 1. But all that's going to have to wait as the Drake is going to be coming up in about 8 seconds time. And Mundo's back on a side lane. They can take this 5v4. But now with the Rift Herald pushing down mid, and Mundo, never mind, Mundo goes where he pleases, and that happens to be mid lane. Okay.
Yeah, we're gonna see the Galio get locked up here.
Galax does get stunned only for a few seconds, but it does mean that's a good amount of chip damage. Notably, it did land onto that mid-tier 1, so that mid-tier 1's hanging on by a thread, which means they need to play for the wave. As JP the Boss goes in, that is going to proc the passive. Cataclysm comes out, finds 2. Heroic's Interest coming off the back of it, and there is so much damage coming out from TMG. JP finally falls. No one on the side of TMG has fallen quite yet. Caxi pops the ultimate to try to survive, but I don't think they're going to be able to get away. Never mind, will. And Emperor is found as the aggro comes out from the turret. So it ends up being a 3-for-1, at least at the moment, as this turret is almost certainly going to fall. Taunt up the Yone. Do they have enough damage to burst through? No, they do not. At least not in the time frame that Solemn Bound gives him to be out of form.
Yeah, and I mean, a really, really crucial fight from TMG here. What I said happened was in fact the thing that happened. Caxi did decide to drop that Rift Herald on mid to try and force the issue on this dragon. However, the Rift Herald crucially also did not pick up the mid tower, which means the map isn't actually open. And I mean, even though Toe get this dragon, they do get it at a cost. They did lose three members actually. They lost 3 total members, and TMG, while they don't have the gold lead or the dragon lead, they are keeping this game close despite this Mundo being like super Thanos into their team. The Jarvan went in and shouldn't have been able to kill anybody, but the way that all of the CC was layered, I guess it kind of jumbled up what Toe wanted to do in that fight. So the Mundo and the I believe it was the Mel was the other person that was locked into the cage with them. Ended up just kind of eating every button imaginable, and then Commander Kaxi got low and had to leave. But the Amumu crucially also did not find a great ulti. He got a good disengage ult, but his engage ult was not great. He did not find a great angle there, which the fight was a lot harder for Toe at the beginning of that fight.
Yeah, absolutely. At least in the end, off the back of that fight, they were able to turn it into a Drake take. So it's going to be 2 Drakes to 1 now. Notably, Baron is going to be making an appearance in about 20 seconds. But again, I don't think there's enough damage. I mean, I think there's actually a lot more damage than the last game. So a Baron take is actually a possibility. There's just no one who's able to burst it down quick enough to do so without any consequences. So I could see a play here for a turn, trying to force out a play. If you're Theory of Everything, just try to catch TMG off on a awkward angle, especially if you do have this split pushing Mundo. Give them 2 really big threats on the board that you have to take care of on the opposite side of the maps. But for the time being, I don't think that's the case. I say that as JP, the boss, has to pop the ultimate to live and actually will die. A little bit of an overheat there. JP gets taken out on the side lane.
Yeah, and I mean, the Lissandra played it well. She used all of her damage before the Mundo R actually went off and got his passive. So, I mean, JP had the angle to walk away from that fight, and he saw red, he saw blood, and he wanted to go in as we see this mid lane tier 2 drop for the side of Toe, as everybody's just gonna scurry away from this afterwards. But yeah, I mean, JP saw blood, walked back in, and decided he wanted to die, and the Lissandra, you know, gave him his wish, took him out like the trash, and put him to the side of the curb.
Jeez. Okay, but the big engage coming out from the Yone is going to do a lot of damage, but not going to be enough to find the full burst down. But it is going to help with that wave up on top side as Daigen actually makes their way to the top side of that map as well. Right now, I think both teams are just trying to play a little bit of neutral. We have to be careful for the red side. This Mundo obviously is still strong, but probably a little bit weaker than they just were. You have to take into account the fact as well that blue side is in a position where if they play too aggressive, blue side can just punish this Mundo. Full send down the bot end, but I think that's kind of what they're hoping for. Maybe trade out the Mundo for a Baron play, especially if JP is able to get away with their lives. I believe JP does have flash. Yeah, they do. So a lot of mobility if necessary, but I mean, TMG are just sitting on Baron right now.
Yeah, and I mean, one thing I'd like to point out that's actually interesting, I know I said in pregame that the Yunara is not going to be able to really kill this window for the side of TNG until she gets to Blade of the Ruined King, which I thought was going to come out on item 5 or 6 of the Yunara's build, because typically they end up going like the Hex Optics into the IE or an attack speed item, and then the LDR, and those are generally your first 4 items. As we see a small little scuffle about to come out here, which I don't think anything is going to happen unless Kaxi decides to turn back around. Nope, everybody's just going to walk away. But as I was saying, but she actually built this Blade of the Ruined King item on first item. So now her second item is the Fiend Hunter Bolts, which means now she can itemize into the IE early as her third item, as the ulti is going to come down from the Mel. The Mel's going to flash away, throw a stun out, and not hit anybody, and going to start her recall. But yeah, now we can go IE on this Yunara, and the Yunara will start pumping damage with the ulti and the first 3 autos. So if Mundo is the person that's walking up at her, he is just instantly losing 70% of his health.
Yeah. Oh, a little bit of a death ball forming here. Could try to get a good angle, but the read is going to come through. A lot of pings, but no quite found information. They're expecting everyone to be going up towards top side, and that's absolutely the case, as Galaxy just has to sit there and watch that tier 2 fall, though it's going to come at the cost of the Drake. But the ping's coming through, meaning that maybe they're just going to try to trade this for the Baron. They know where everyone on blue side is, and yeah, that seems like exactly what's going to play out, as we see Odysseus going to be the one to start it. No vision on the Baron for TMG.
Yeah, and I mean, Toe is probably most likely just going to pick this up. They do see the Seraphine hover on that ward while she was placing her control ward, but I mean, the Baron is already gone before the thought even occurs to TMG that they're on it. So they just got out macroed here, unfortunately. Another interesting purchase that we see come into Caxie's inventory actually is the I don't remember. I think it's called Bloodletter's Curse, I believe is the name of the item. Uh, and this item is actually crazy for his team because it shreds MR. It's not just straight pen, but it shreds it. And he has 3. I mean, honestly, all his whole team can use this. The Mundo actually benefits from this on his Q and his W. The Yone passive autos are partially magic damage as well. So, I mean, everybody on his team benefits from this Bloodletter's Curse item. So it's a really good heads up item to buy this game. It basically gives my entire team damage as long as I'm going in. So I would like to commend Caxi for that one, as we see another small scuffle coming in here as we are going to start Baron buffing up these minions and walking down mid lane. We might see the Lissandra look for a potential flank engage, perhaps, the way she's playing.
Yeah, possibly. Notably, Mundo still pulling this Galio off to the side, as that is gonna be pretty good, especially as tier 1 is tier 2 turret is getting low, but aggro is gonna be put on the JP, which means that they're gonna have to back away for just a moment to lose the aggro. A little bit too much damage coming out from the turret, though eventually that is gonna be the turret gone. So now only the one exterior turret left standing is in mid. We do see this red side backing away, though. Baron buff minions not doing enough against the full wave clear of all 4 members, jungle and lower, for TMG.
Yeah, and I mean, crucially, with this Baron, we do see JP actually play side lane this time, finally, as we see big engage coming out from the side of TMG as Galio and Jarvan both slam down, and Mel dies immediately at the beginning of this fight as the Yone goes in with the Fate sealed. The Jarvan is going to get the Seraphine on the backline as well as the Amumu, and Mundo is going to have to blow everything to get out of this fight. As we see on the other side of the fight, the Jarvan is trying to run down this Yone, but I do believe that Odysseus may be out. Maybe the Jarvan can hunt him down, but that is a crucial teamfight win for TMG to even the gold lead back out. Well, Toe has the Baron.
Yeah, right now, it really does feel like the neutral game is being won by Theory of Everything, but right now, TMG are doing an incredibly good job at winning the team fights. I mean, even with Baron, they were not able to close that out. Theory of Everything struggling a little bit here as the game gets later and later. I mean, gold pretty much even, about 500 gold difference in favor of DOE still, but besides that, everything else seems to go in favor of TMG right now. Theory of Everything definitely starting to struggle a little bit.
Yeah, and I mean, as much as I hate to say it, your Mundo on the side of Toe, he's not going to have that much, team fight viability or usage into these characters, especially with the Yunara already building towards this IE. The moment she hits it, he's getting shredded. He has to just sit in side lane and do exactly this. Not care about his health bar, not care about taking the tower shots. He has to take some risks and try and get the enemy team to match him so that his team can kind of perform this exactly right here, this late engage from Caxi. The Lissandra is going to immediately get exploded, and we should all be walking away and kiting back to our Yone, which we successfully do. We overload aside and get a pick off of the back of the pressure that JP can provide on this Mundo.
Yeah, it looks like they are going to now force that issue that was just created. They may not have Baron, but they now have a wave and the man advantage. JP, the boss, is just ignoring everyone and trying to hit the turret, but is starting to struggle a little bit as turret aggro is making this very difficult, especially with on a CC that is knocking him up. The Mel ultimate comes through. Yone ult finds two yet again, but this time the rest of the team behind him has not fallen, but Yone has to back away, and look at the damage being dealt. The Yunara is going crazy, as I don't think anyone's gonna be able to get away this time around. That is going to be a full wipe from TMG, who continues to dominate the team fights.
Yeah, and I mean, this TMG roster is really online. They have been asleep the entire 8 weeks of the season. But week 8.1, they are awake and they are here to claim their spot in playoffs. They have about 20-ish seconds to get down to this Nexus, which I don't think they will, but they will push to this inhibitor. And if they get this inhib, they almost certainly get this dragon. Which, I mean, they might just get the tower in out, I think. We might not want to risk this, which I think is also an okay play because we are going to claim the bot tower as well, which is another 500 gold in our pocket.
Yeah, that's the big problem here for Theory of Everything as well. On top of losing these team fights, they've done a really good job at the macro around the map and also just preventing TMG from getting any value out of those turrets, seeing as a lot of them are still standing. But that now means that despite TMG getting ahead, they're still going to have a lot of standing gold that they're going to be able to pick up. That's not usually the case in situations like these, but now they're getting ahead and they still have a lot of gold to be picked up across the map. Theory of Everything definitely are going to be shaking a little bit as they need to find a way to win a team fight and win it convincingly, because man, they have really only been losing them and losing them convincingly.
Yeah, I mean, TMG's 80 carry, I mean, has just really put them on their back for these fights. I mean, obviously everybody is doing a great job in these fights, but the damage coming out from the Yunara and the Jarvan in these fights specifically after locking people down is just insane. The itemization from the Yunara here, I think, is the best that we have seen in the CCS so far. I don't think we built a single, like, terrible item. Like, I think the Fiend Hunters is maybe arguably bad, as we see a slight attempt at a scuffle here for the Baron about to possibly happen as the Fate Shield comes out. The Galio is going to taunt up the Yone, and he is just going to be locked up and denied the opportunity to team fight with the side of TOE as everybody gets off of the Baron, and the Jarvan is out for blood. He is hungry as he flashes forward, and the Seraphine flashes over the red pit, and everybody is going to walk away. And I do believe we are going to push this mid wave in and then recontest the Baron.
They absolutely are. Not even going to wait to fully clear out the wave. They are going to get this party started a little bit early. There's still 3 members left standing. TP into the pit. They're going to try to contest for this. They want this bad, but the TP is interrupted. Emperor goes over the backside. This J4, like you said, is hungry, thirsty for blood, is going to pop the Cataclysm. Heroic Entrance coming out as well. Huge taunt up. That is going to be a double stun out as well, as Emperor is actually getting pretty darn low. This scuffle's kind of going the way of Red side as they're able to find one, but Caxi is very low. Eventually will fall, but here comes Odysseus, but they're not able to get in as they run into Galax on the way over. JP, the boss, coming in from the backside, but also is going to run into that Galio. As this Baron's still not taken yet, it ends up being a 1-for-1 in that secondary fight, but it looks like Odysseus, okay, they were maybe hunting for another pick, but they're not going to find it as Galio gets away.
Yeah, and I mean, crucially, the Mundo actually did not get any of the towers on his split push here, and he did utilize the TP. So now, the next time that we see Mundo in a side lane, TMG can just slam a 5v4, and, you know, give over one inhibitor to the Mundo, hopefully, and win the fight quickly, which I'm assuming is going to happen on this dragon that's about to spawn in about a minute and 15. But crucially, the Mundo does not have the TP anymore, so we can TP into a fight to guarantee a fight win and recall at the very least to stop the Mundo from ending the game and guarantee ourselves a soul, hopefully.
Absolutely. Here as we see a little bit of a slowdown. 1 minute on the clock till the next Drake. One has to be won by theory of everything if they want to have a say in the late game. Just under 3k gold down. They need to be able to prevent this soul from being secured, but it is becoming a more and more of a hassle for them. Some of their skirmishes have looked pretty good, but like you said, there's no TP on the Mundo. So for this next fight, if Galax makes their way down with a TP, there is nothing JP the boss can do. So the best thing to do is continue to put this pressure on, keep this Galio engaged, and prevent them from getting a TP in.
Yeah, and I mean, this dragon is spawning in 10 seconds, and obviously the Mundo is playing the side lane and attempting to create pressure here, and he is going to walk down mid to try and get the mid tier 2 here, which he is going to secure up really quickly. Takes him about 2 seconds, but the problem is Toe is on the side of the map that TMG is from, and the Seraphine R is going to come down as we see a big fight come in, and Galio Engage is going to come through. The Yunara is autoing the Mundo, who is using his ulti to regen back up. Caxi gets a really big ulti at the end here, and it looks like the fight is going to the side of Toe. And Yone gets a 3-man knockup and kills 2 immediately. And Toe actually wins the final team fight of the game. The game is over here. Toe picks everybody up. Yone and Caxi get the best engage that they could have possibly gotten in that exact moment. And somehow, after TMG being in the lead the whole game, the Mundo is able to tank the whole team at 4 items. And they are able to get an insane engage and end the lives of TMG in this initial game.
I know it's not a one-for-one comparison, obviously. There's a pretty big skill gap between the two of them, but that does give me flashbacks to like prime T1, where T1 could play the entire game super poorly, could struggle the entirety of the game, but haha, funny Baron fight. Suddenly they just win, and then they win the entire map off the back of that one fight. Theory of everything really were bleeding out slowly, but one really good engage. I mean, there was the flank from Odysseus as well that was pulling some attention away from the Mundo that was in the middle. But I mean, really, I think the big thing is the heavy focusing on Yunara, but also the fact that everyone dodged out of the way of that Heroics entrance. That Heroics entrance has been so important for a lot of these team fights, getting 2, 3, sometimes 4-man knockups in the middle of the fight that gives so much extra time for Yunara to just absolutely melt the Mundo or whoever their primary target is. And this time around, it gets nothing. Odysseus backs out of the Soul Unbound form, is able to get the safety. Mundo just sidesteps it a little bit. There's no one else in the area. Mundo immediately turns onto the Yunara, finds them, and after that, there's just not enough damage on TMG's side to sustain in that fight. Incredibly well played final fight, really good positioning. The first time we really see good positioning come out from that roster, and in the end, they saved it for when it mattered most, because it's not how you start, it's about how you finish. And they finished that match pretty darn strong.
Yeah, and I mean, I think they just threw the whole fight autoing the Mundo the whole time. The Yunara could not auto anybody except for the Mundo there in her own head. But I think if she just went forwards and tried and killed some of the backliners there, the fight is completely different, right? All of our damage was kind of ransacked by the Mundo ulti there, and I don't believe there was, off the top of my head, I don't believe there was any anti-heal on that Mundo either. So he just got to live forever in that fight. But with that, that is the end of our game 1. And we will be going to a break as the two teams also take their 5 minutes before they head into the next draft. So we will see you in the next draft for game 2.
Just forgot about the frog. Just when you think it's over, they do not say die. Theory of everything, take map one. In a bit of a surprise fashion, one good team fight turns the tide after a game of doing well in the macro, but absolutely suffering during team fights. But that makes no difference when you've taken almost every turret outside the base and you win a good single team fight so late in the game, right outside your enemy's front door. So they are going to be the ones taking the lead. Though True Minded Gaming, TMG, are still going to be feeling pretty good. They had that game in the bag if they had just not lost one or two more turrets. So we will have to see how all that shakes out. If you're just now joining us, my name is Soren. Joining me is Sutek. And Sutek, I mean, how are we feeling going into game number two? What are we expecting to see? Maybe a little bit of change up here from True Minded Gaming.
I I still feel fine. I think this is the best that I've seen TMG play in 8 weeks, and it's week 8.1. It feels it feels good finally seeing this team do something, because I have been feeling quite bad for Cool One. I think Cool One is actually a solid player. I think he is one of the better players in his role. I mean, we've seen on the podcast people have picked him up for their theoretical all-star teams. I don't think that this guy is bad. He's just on a team of players that look lost. And finally, they're all coming together and figuring out how to play the game. So, I would like to see them not, backs to the wall. This is your final game, at least. I would like to see them, do the same thing again and try and, push Toe to their limit and take them to at least that final fight. Keep these games close, because, there's nothing worse than going out and the game isn't close at all. So, I would like to see another close game as we hop into draft here. We see the Zig span on the side of TMG, we see the Bard and the Ivern ban on the side of Toe, and I do believe that we are going to see some targeted top lane bans because JP is a known Garen enjoyer, and he was a problem in that last game for the side of Toe to deal, for the side of TMG to deal with. Sorry.
Yeah, and I actually would not be surprised if we see another top lane ban come out here from the side of TMG. I really do think JP is probably the biggest threat on the board. Maybe not in the sense of like team fighting, but the amount of macro play that he has just is able to absolutely dominate. We do see the Vigar ban, which may look and sound a little crazy, but yesterday we saw, okay, I was gonna say we saw a combination of Victor and Vigar, a little bit of flexibility that we were kind of going back and forth on whether or not they were going to be going bot or if they were going to be going mid. We did see the Victor go bot in the APC role and Vigar go mid. I have a sneaking suspicion TMG figured that that's the route that they want to take. They would rather not deal with the Vigar, so they're just going to take that away. I will say there's plenty of other options in mid that could kind of fill that role, but at least it's not going to be the Vigar itself, especially because I believe this kind of combination that they had was just very, very CC heavy and relied a lot on the baby cage. That ultimate just being able to be put down and either stun or lock someone in place is just a very scary prospect. So they're just going to take that off the board early. Um, that does mean that there's the possibility of maybe if Theory of Everything want to do a little bit of a change up, if they want to pick Yorick or early, I think they did in this. I
There it
oh
is.
rip.
And I
Um, I-
expect alongside this Yorick as well, sorry to cut you off, I expect there to be a Kaxi Maokai most likely to come through. That has been the new hotness into the Wukong recently, is since the Maokai, I think it was like a slight jungle buff, but it put him back into contention as one of the better picks against Wukong. Despite the clone being able to eat the ulti, you do chase him with your W when he Ws, which is very, very nice for the Maokai being able to stick on that Wukong and peel him off of carries like that. So I expect Kaxi to lock something along those lines. I also don't hate his Zinzao here. I think Zinzao's pretty decent into way. I think it's pretty good into the Wukong. Um, we do see
yeah,
Sejuani come through. That's another decent one. That's another Kaxi staple, the Sejuani. And it's pretty good with the Yorick. Yorick does apply the Sejuani passive quite well because he does have an auto reset. Um, and yeah, I mean, I think on the
I
side of
fear.
TMG, I fear we are going to see a top lane counter pick here, and I'm not sure what Galax has in the tank for a Yorick.
Yeah, I fear.
A
Okay, it's gonna be
cinched,
Cinch.
apparently. Apparently a cinched.
Yeah. I was sort of I fear we might get pretty much the exact same draft from Theory of Everything, which in theory, especially with that ban onto the Vigar, you imagine maybe TMG is gonna read it, but at the same time, if you were, you probably would want to get rid of the Yorick rather than the Vigar. But I don't know because this is the exact trio that they started with in game number 2 yesterday. They very clearly were like, "Hey, we got these compositions. They seem to be working out." Okay, the Leona, that was also a pick from yesterday. I think that was the pairing with the Victor. I think the goal for this composition, by the way, is just straight CC. The goal is just to CC the entirety of the team, whether that's the wall with Yorick or the big stun, big ultimate with the Sejuani paired up with the baby cage from Vigar. It's just a lot of CC potential. So I think right now getting rid of that Leona is a good option. Getting rid of the Vigar is a great option. I I don't know what the plan is here for Theory of Everything, especially seeing as very clearly TMG have studied up and have already gotten rid of the last 2 picks on the board for them, which means we're gonna have to see them try to fill similar roles with different characters. And I think that's the reason why we're seeing a little bit longer of a ban phase from TMG here, um, because they I don't know if they even know where TMG is gonna go. Um, Okay, Thresh. Thresh is going to be the next. I mean, Nautilus is still in effect if they're considering going for a more hook engage tank on the support. But the plan for this composition was always just really beefy front line with a lot of CC and a really, really hard scaling back line that does a lot of damage. So I think Theory of Everything is still going to get everything that they want, maybe just not the exact characters that they were planning on having.
Yeah, and TMG still needs a bot lane here, and I think as we see the Zeri come down, this is exactly what I was about to say. If the enemy team on TMG, if TMG picks a um, a high attack speed hyper carry, I think it's within Daigen's wheelhouse. If I remember looking at this OPGG correctly, I think Renata is within his wheelhouse, and I think Renata is absolutely like turbo broken value for her ult this game. It really hurts Singed. It really hurts Wukong. I mean, obviously, Hui can stand outside of the range of it, but if the Wukong and the Singed are getting hit by it, feels really, really bad to be the side of TMG, especially if Zeri gets hit by it too, because then she's also doing that thing. As we see the Xayah come through as the anti-dive character, and you know, as you would suspect, Renata actually has an insanely good pairing alongside the Xayah. We saw it pretty much all of MSI. Whenever Xayah would get picked up, it was either Rakan, Leona, or it was the Renata. As we do see the infamous Xayah Rakan pairing come down. And I also don't hate the Rakan, but I do think the Renata was a slightly better support pick here if he was comfortable on it. As enemy support Cool One will have his pick of the litter of characters here, and I'm not really too sure what I would like here if I was support. I would probably like Bard, but it's banned. Um, Maybe it's just Karma. No, Karma was played last game. He's looking at Yumi. There's playing Zera Yumi in their elimination game. So we're putting
Hey,
all of the eggs in the Glogan basket. He has to carry this game because he's got his little kitten Cool One with him. So hopefully the two of them can figure out how to win this 2v2 as hard as possible.
yeah, I will say that is actually pretty scary, but also at the same time not, as we do see this lineup here for True Minded Gaming. Very clearly, this is a bot side heavy matchup. I'm expecting Wukong to be down there quite often, as Sinch is probably going to be the one left to deal with the onslaught that is the Yorick. I will say Alex on the ADC for the side of Theory of Everything did really, really good yesterday into matchups when they knew they were going to be on the back foot, which I think they're going to be here. Was playing incredibly well, a little bit more passive. They knew they were playing the Victor yesterday, so they knew that they were always going to be on the back foot until Victor really started coming online and was really, really disciplined in how they play. So that does give me a lot of faith that despite the fact that very clearly they're going to be in probably the weaker side of their matchup, but also going up against the strong side of their opponents, I still am pretty confident in this TOE roster, specifically this bot lane, to at minimum just hold down the fort. Do not bleed too heavily against this Zeri, who very clearly is going to be playing aggressive to try to get an advantage early. And if they can just prevent that bleed from happening and just try to hold off and stem the issues early, I could see them becoming a real big problem, especially the later it goes, because we all know what Yorick can do on a side lane, especially if you watch yesterday. You know what JP on Yorick could do on the side lane. So I think the real plan here is Sejuani just put presence around the map whenever possible. Let Victor do his thing on mid and scale up. Just keep that bot lane stable and then stay alive long enough to let JP run rampant on the Yorick.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. I really like Toe's combo a lot more than TMG's. I think TMG's are a lot harder to execute, but I think there is a world where if the Singe gets to proxy the whole game uninterrupted, which should never happen, and Zeri Yumi wins lane, I do think that there is a world where Zeri Yumi actually can go uncontested in like almost every fight. Zeri does get enough move speed to kite the Rakan ulti, and they don't really have any like amazing hard lockdown for her. Like the Sejuani ulti is a skill shot. The only thing that the side of Toe can really do to lock down this area is land Rakan ulti, and Yumi can just build Mikhail's and Mikhail's the Rakan charm. So it's not like a completely unplayable game for the side of TMG. It's hard. It's definitely harder to use this comp to the best of its ability as opposed to use Toe's comp to the best of its ability. But I can have a little bit of faith here that TMG can at least make this a nice little 30-minute banger for, their either lose and get kicked out of the league or their win. So, I mean, with that, I guess we'll see how the game goes in about 3 minutes after the spectator delay. And good luck to both teams, and I'll see you guys on the flip side.
Game one decided off the back of one final good team fight from Theory of Everything. They are certainly going to be hoping to have a much more dominant performance this time around. Meanwhile, TMG are looking to have a second really good game, but have the ability to close it out. Both teams taking to the Rift Town. It looks like it's going to be a 5-point all the way across. Nothing too crazy from either side. I was gonna say 5-point, and I was like, wait a second, why is there only 4 members on the red side? And I forgot there is actually a cat on the field. Yumi is just attached to Zeri automatically.
Yep, and as you can probably suspect, this early lane is going to be quite difficult for the Zeri laning 1v2, as Yumi isn't exactly the most useful support pre-level 2, or even, honestly, pre-level 6, if I'm being honest. The character really turns on at level 6, but, you know, maybe as good of a player as Cool is, he can make it work. As we see, Caxi is actually playing a late invade, doing a little bit of Suptech special here. This is a bit of my expertise rubbing off on him. With how fast Sejuani clears, he is allowed to kind of force a split here for his bot lane and force a lot of pressure for this Zeri, because honestly, this is the only lane that Caxi really needs to win, because everywhere else should go even or be winning.
Yeah, pretty much. As we do see, Calyx is immediately suffering. Has to force the flash immediately. That is definitely going to be rough, as we do finally see that level 2 come out onto Glogan. Now finally is going to get a little bit more support. Meanwhile, Emperor is going to be making their way over to their blue side just to find that it is rather empty. Are they going to spend the time trying to see if the whole rest of it is? No, they are just going to assume that that end of the jungle is a lost cause and is actually going to be making their way, I think, towards the scuttle, or maybe just trying to see if they can intercept here. And they're not quite going to catch ships in the night, not passing the opposing jungler, but should be able to get these Krugs, and yeah, is going to at least find them as some consolation.
Yeah, and I mean, I really liked this invade from Caxi. I would have liked to have seen him, you know, force the issue here and actually, you know, finish his bot side and look to gank the enemy Zeri, Yumi. But unfortunately, Wukong is going to get some camps back. He's going to get spotted in this tri-bush here, or when he goes for this gank, which he shouldn't get anything out of. They're already under the tower. He's going to dash under the tower. He's going to get rooted up, knocked up, and that was unfortunately on the clone here. Just a little bit too slow there. And he is just going to walk away, and Caxi is just going to claim his top side and his raptors, most likely. The Wukong is going to get the bot grab. Caxi already got the top grab. And everybody's just going to be happy farming it up as Galax is getting poked out by the little, I don't even know what they're called, little fiend guys from York, little grave tenders, we'll call them.
I just call them the gremlins. They're just annoying little gremlins to deal with. But yeah, right now, pretty much everyone on blue side's doing pretty darn good. I mean, Odysseus struggling a little bit, mostly just down to the lack of mana available to them. Already had to use their pots. So right now, Hui is going to be winning out, but I think that is pretty stereotypical. Victor, obviously a really good scaling character, is going to scale into this matchup pretty darn well, but at least early on, is going to suffer a little bit, as we see Caxi doing a really good job at warding off these two opponents, but Galax may be a little bit too aggressive. That wall is going to cut them off, and the first blood goes over to the Sejuani.
Yeah, and I mean, I would have liked to have seen the kill go over to JP. I think Yorick does use the gold a little bit better, but Caxi is going to do an extended invade here, and I don't think Caxi knows that his passive is down. He doesn't actually have the armor boost here, and he is going to get murdered by the Wukong, as you see a nice little double root come in for this IS. So now she can't die, and the wave can come in, and you can catch it. But yeah, a really big overstep from Caxi. That's a little unusual from him. Normally he's pretty calculated on that, but his passive was gone from the last fight and it was still on cooldown, so he didn't have the extra bonus armor or the anti-slow there, so that was really bad.
Yeah, and Emperor's gonna take the opportunity to go in on Odysseus, who might
Odysseus dead.
just be dead.
All the level up's
Oh,
gonna
the
save him.
level up, keeping him alive. Barely as Galax is going to be locked into the cage. Does take quite a bit of damage, but yeah, I mean, Caxi going down there definitely hurts the blue side a little bit, but doesn't put him too far behind, as at least the rest of the lanes are able to stabilize as this Gremlins continue to just be a thorn in the side of this mad scientist.
Yeah, and I don't think this lane really gets any easier for Singed. He's down a level. He's now going to get slowed up. The ghouls are going to jump on him, and the Yorick will flash forwards and claim that kill
Not the
with the
Flash
Sheen.
Master, eh?
And he mastery flashes him just for a little bit of BM. But an interesting thing here is the Yorick started with D-Shield because he thought he was going to get poked out of this lane and the Singe was going to proxy, but that is not the case, and he is farming the Singe, and he has bought himself a Cult. So this Yorick's going to be really, really strong inside lane. I don't think that there's going to be a ton that TMG can do to stop him. And Toe is already going up 1,000 gold here, as Yorick now has 3 plates.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if Prod could show us the gold graph right now for the two characters. Yeah, already close. Most of that 1,000 is just in that top side right now, and he's going to be able to back and get a little bit more in terms of component strength. As Odysseus is going to finally get a pretty good trade out onto their lane opponent. CLT having to respect it, also finally having to pop the pots, or at least a pot there off the refillable, as Galax is going to try to proxy here. I think that's actually not a bad option. If the 1v1 is not going your way, just try to proxy, get as much farm as possible. Yorick should interrupt this. This is not great for Yorick, but in the end, it looks like Caxi is just kind of just going for these counters, and in the end, Emperor is going to say, that's totally fine. I'm going to take this first Drake in response.
Yeah, I mean, the first Drake's is a big pickup for TMG. They are the scaling comp, so it's nice that the scaling comp does get the Dragon here, as Odysseus is going to get chunked down to about 10% health, and the Wukong is in the area. He's perhaps looking for it, and then they see the Sejuani on the wave here. He's not quite in fog, so Emperor should just play in this bush here. He's going to look to maybe fight Caxi, but his passive is back up, so I don't think he can. The Xayah Rakan are trying to move to this, but Wukong is very slippery, so he's just going to be able to walk away, and Cax is going to claim the spot camps.
Yeah, as Maiden does come through, Galax pretty low on mana. Has to be a little careful here. Gonna have to go for a recall, and not too long as JP just walks forward, takes a hit onto the turret, making another one, and is just chunking this turret down, trying to remove the cover that the Singed is oh so reliant on. As the Sejuani makes their play down towards the bot side, cannot be slowed by the ulting Yuumi, but unfortunately, ultimates go a little bit wide, and now Zeri's going to have the opportunity to do a lot of damage. Cax get it really low. Zeri has to dodge out of the way of that knockup, but full investment here, and all 3 members need to back away. Can Zeri get out? Yes, or excuse me, Xayah get out? Yes, they can, off the back of that ultimate. Get all jail free card is going to have to be used just to stay alive.
Yeah, and I mean, that was a really good play from Glogan. He used both of his sums pretty intelligently to kite the fight backwards, and then with the Yuumi Q slows, they were able to get Caxi down to a low enough HP where he can't recontest the engage, and then we do get the Xayah ultimate. Unfortunately, we didn't get the Xayah summoners the same way that we got the Rakan summoners on the engage, but, I mean, picking up the ulti is still really, really good. Like, we definitely would have preferred to get the Xayah flash there, but I don't think we hate that, as, I mean, this way is just barreling his range advantage into Odysseus here. This is about as bad of a lane as Odysseus we've seen from him in quite some time. Usually he's doing really, really well in these games, but he's dead. He just got sniped by the Hoi QW. So, I mean, that's really bad, and he's already down 30 farms, so hopefully JP's able to make up a bit of the difference here, but yeah, I mean, we'll see how this fight goes. JP is caging up Galax. Caxi is here. Galax is stunned up, and Caxi takes him down.
Yeah, and on top of that, this is certainly just going to be turret, right? I mean, Galax has no TP, is instead going for the speed up as well as the flash, but both are down now. So JP is just going to be able to clear out this wave and take that first tier 1. As we see Glogan try to go all in onto Alex here. Ultimate is popped, and it's going to force out the flash. Meanwhile, up on top side, that turret is removed. I mean, we're now starting to really see this Zeri come alive off the back of the Yumi, or just Yumi off the back of the Zeri. But in the end, right now, it's still pretty darn even, though it is about still a 2k gold lead. Though most of that is in the hands of the Yoruk, as CLT, everything's being thrown at them. But there's not going to be a pick found, at least not yet.
Yeah, and I mean, pretty good side sets from CLT here. I mean, I think he saw the Sichuani Q out of the fog before pressing the R, so he kind of sidestepped forwards a little bit, dodged the ulti, and then the Victor Gravity Roll was not quite in range for that. As we see a potential gank coming out onto this enemy bot lane, the Wukong is completely unseen here, but the Zeri has to get this wave to bounce. And the Wukong's Raptors are up, but maybe he stalls his base here, and it looks like Alex and Megan are just going to freeze this wave up, which is a little unfortunate timing for the Wukong, but oh well. He's just going to be sitting here, and really he should be top trying to kill this Yorick, and it looks like Galax is probably just dead here, maybe? He might be fast enough to live, actually, with our Ghost. But yeah, that's a little rough.
Yeah.
As Odysseus does get killed mid lane, again he gets sniped with the full Hui arsenal of buttons in the off screen there.
Yeah, notably mid is now becoming a bit of a problem child. I'd imagine we're going to start seeing Caxi put a lot more pressure there as this Yorick just chunking away the turret is going to have this wave. As Maiden's just going to tank that turret shot for practically no reason. It does look like the Drake is going to immediately get started. Yep. I don't know. Yeah, no. It looks like Theory of Everything is going to be very happy to trade this over. I mean, they're doing a pretty good job at playing the macro around the map in terms of the map, Sejuani having a lot of presence, but they're giving up a lot of major objectives, which is really helping keep TMG in this game. I mean, it's kind of making up for all the kills that are going over to the Sejuani and all the gold that's in the pocket of the Yorick.
Yeah, I mean, this Yorick is definitely going to be an issue. The later that the game goes, the more he's going to be able to play side harder and harder. But they need to be able to look on mid here like this exactly and get Odysseus a little bit of help so that he can survive this lane. They now have him laning into the Singe, which I think is a lot better for him. But it is also a lot better for the Singe as well. The Singe should actually be able to lane into the Victor. The Victor shouldn't be able to completely kill him. And the Zeri should be able to ideally hold the Yorick, as we see JP actually gets in the melee range, and they have to blow Flash and Zeri, Yumi are, and Exhaust as well. Otherwise, JP just kills them. Rakan is going, we see another fight, Rakan's going in with the ulti. The Wukong is going to go in and kill the Saya after the ulti, and double kill over to Emperor after the big combo comes through, and the Zeri is stuck at 1 HP with 4 summons blown. The Yorick and the Maiden still have the Flash and the TP, and will most likely get this tower as well. It looks like the Hui is TPing to save it. Or actually, it's the Singe TP coming in to save it for the side of TMG. And, I mean, they get stuff mid lane on the side of Toe. TMG responds back with some more kills mid, and then Toe almost kills through 4 summoners on Zeri Yumi. So far, it's looking like the game's pretty even, which is interesting, based on how the early game went.
Yeah, definitely. Theory of Everything. I mean, I think a lot of it's off the back of the fact that they've been giving up so many major objectives. I don't know. Giving up the first Drake without much contest was fine. The grubs were definitely a big question mark to me, especially when you have the Yorick, who's very clearly going to want to be putting pressure on the side lanes. Having those grubs would have been a really nice boon to have. So I mean, giving them up without even a contest to me is a little strange, but then also giving up the next Drake is crazy. Is JP Boss actually taking a lot of damage there, playing a little bit under turret and getting punished hard, especially with the Singe displacement there. Is going to have to play a little bit more safely as 1 or 2 turret shots, and that is possibly 1 dead Undertaker's Galax. Does Galax die to the Gremlins? There's no shot Galax dies to the Gremlins.
Yeah, I mean, the ghouls got him really, really low there, obviously, and JP kind of trolled on queuing the tower there with the Triforce proc the last time before he had to blow his flash, because the ghouls' final auto did not go through yet, and then they late autoed Galax, so he took an extra 2 tower shots that he was supposed to when he walked in for that, as Daigen is the one that's going to eat the Hui ulti here, and it looks like Logan and Hui are going to take this mid-tier 1 finally, after 15 long minutes of barreling it down, and Singe is, for some reason, blowing Ghost to try and kill Maiden. I don't know what that's about, but I guess. I mean, we're not even gonna kill him. She recalls the Yorick. That's very weird. I don't know why we did that, but whatever.
Yeah, I mean, Yorick now 1-0-2, Triforce done. Cole completed as well. About 50 CS up over the Singed. I mean, mid might be bleeding out, but as long as Odysseus continues to just try to keep it relatively under control, right now it doesn't look too bad, especially seeing as Zeri, who a lot of pressure has been put on them to really perform, has not been able to really get involved and find the pick. And now finally, we do see Caxi putting some presence towards this mid lane as both and Daigen try to find something. Not going to find anything on mid, but at least showing presence. You'd imagine that is to help get this mid lane in a pretty good position for a possible next Drake fight, because it is 40 seconds out, and obviously they do not want to give up 3 Drakes in a row.
Yeah, and I mean, crucially, I'm pretty sure Galaxy's TP is still down for this dragon play. I do not think that the spectator shows it properly. I'm fairly certain it is currently down still, and Yorick did get the top tier 2 and is going to recall, finish his item, and look back out top lane, most likely with his own TP, to try and force a fight here for the side of TOE and get them their first dragon of the game, and hopefully delay the side of TMG. As we see the Herald get spawned down, Wukong is going to hop in. The Gravity Well has already been used. 2 plates going down. Caxi is in with the Q ult. The cleanse comes out from Yuumi for Glogan. Glogan is going to ulti slide over the wall. The Yuumi R is going to come down. The Wukong R is going to come down. Everybody's falling low. Caxi is going low. Rakan is dying. Odysseus has to flash away. And JP and Caxi are running this fight without their Xayah, completely mowing them down, but Emperor gets a really good turn kill with Glogan, and the Zeri is fully online for this fight, able to kite and run around and mows them down with the Wukong ulti to help her out.
Yeah, and that is going to be a huge fight win. It's obviously a shutdown onto the Yorick. Caxi falls as well, and in the end, that's going to be a big team fight win. A lot of gold going over to the Zeri. On top of that, that is going to be the 3rd Drake, so that is going to be Drake point. And on top of that, I think Galax is going to be able to get this top tier 1. Overall, that was an incredible play for TMG, who are now very firmly in the driver's seat, have completely closed any gold lead that was in favor of TOE, and are now looking to be the ones to sit in the driver's seat for a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, granted, Zeri did not get any of the kills there, but it does not matter because the Wukong is so insanely strong for that fight. He did not have to R right away. The Zeri and the Yuumi absorbed a ton of pressure for him, and him and Hui got to mow down people's health bars at the beginning of that fight so that Glogan could heal back up and re-enter the fight and start mowing people down. And I think to Toe's detriment, right? The Xayah was out of that fight for basically the entire fight until the end of it, similar to how the end of the SLS TMG game happened in one of those fights as well, SLS's AD carry also wasn't there. So in a similar fashion, Toe making the same mistake that SLS made against TMG.
Yeah, this is now starting to become a little bit untenable for ToE. They need to start turning it around. It was one thing when the Yorick was at least getting a lot of value on the sides and they were winning the macro fight, but now they are starting to lose it as well. As now they're the team on the back foot, missing 2 turrets, though. It is being matched. Yorick continues to put the pressure onto the side lanes. Very clearly has this tier 2 in sight, but now it's going to be facing down this way as well as the Singe. There's going to be a lot of damage incoming, and that's actually going to be the way Ultimate used preemptively. Popped back in by the Singe, but the damage comes out onto the Way. He's going to force the Way back a little bit. Makes us a 1v1 against Galax, but Galax is doing a pretty darn good job of taking this out. JP has to find the means out, but I don't think they can, as the artillery shot from long range from the Way is able to close out the fight. And then just to rub insult in, we see the mastery flash from the Singed. A little bit of a BM to match the BM from earlier.
Yeah, and I mean, JP was BMing him all lane phase, but when the Singe gets to play the game with his team, he is able to achieve what JP has done to him the whole game. As we see the side of TMG, Quay got to push in the bot lane after that play and also get some more extra gold on the map for his team as well, taking down the bot tier 1. And we're going to see a really big concussive fight in the next 2 minutes here, Soren. I do believe that Toe absolutely has to fight over this Chemtech Drake. Otherwise, this area is going to be borderline unkillable with all of the extra tenacity and heal and shield power that she's going to get. Plus, the extra bonus passive of the Chemtech Drake giving you the 10% durability at below 50%, I believe. She is just going to be able to just walk into a fight and face tank people at that point with the Yuumi healing and abilities on top of her. So I do believe that Toe is going to have to look for a very aggressive angle this next dragon fight in about a minute and a half now.
Yeah, absolutely. It's kind of a make or break moment here. TMG, I mean, they're going to be happy no matter what. They're going to be feeling pretty confident going in this. We still see that match 3 flash, as I'm assuming Singe has just got a proxy and deny the wave for this Yorick. But Yorick's slowly going to make their way down. Probably down to the mid lane to, I imagine, maybe even put some pressure on mid, try to take this mid tier 1 early. His Drake is up in about 50 seconds.
Yeah, and I mean, importantly, the side of TMG actually does have the wave prio right now. They currently have more minions. The school is going to take out the small minion if they don't deal with it, and they got it. So there's one caster left. It's going to be picked up. And now this wave right here and the next joining wave are going to be the next 2 most important waves for TMG to pick up. Obviously, if TMG can play forwards a bit more here, they can catch this next wave high before the dragon spawns. And it looks like Blue is pinging the Baron. Toe looks like they want to sneak the Baron and just give over the soul. It seems like they don't really care that much about the Chemtech soul. And Red has a vague idea of what's happening because of the control ward in the back of the pit, but I'm not sure that this is a fight that Toe really wants to take. And now TMG has position to just go and slam this Drake, and this is kind of a disaster scenario for Toe, because Toe can't walk into this dragon, and now they have to play against Sarah Yuumi with Chem Soul, which I would argue is the second best soul for this pairing. They're going to hop back on the Baron, but this is a bit of a Hail Mary play. I do think Emperor does get there in time. I do not think Zaya and Victor have quite enough damage to shred it fast enough. Well, they are getting poked as you see this Quay ulti come down. Galax is going to run in with his ghost. Zeri's going to kite back. The Baron is going down to 1,000. Blue gets the Baron. Galax is going to kill JP. Zeri is trying to get in, stunned up by the gravity well. She has to slide this wall. She's going to play an aggressive angle onto the Victor. The Victor is getting blown up. Zeri ulti comes down. The Daigon is looking to press R and charm people up, but Wukong is in there and says no, denying him his engage and his retreat back to his base.
Yeah, and I mean, Caxi immediately tries to find some value up on the top side, but I fear it's a little bit too late. I think the thought process was, sure, they'll get that that Dragon Soul, but in the end, we're gonna get Baron buff, and we're gonna be able to hard push on that side lane with JP. So JP will be able to kind of make up for that gap, seeing as how much pressure he's already been able to do. But they don't take into account how much damage they're gonna be taking and how quickly they need to take it. And in the end, it ends up just kind of being a disaster through and through. And that is going to put them on their heels as TMG are able to deny the purple cloak from all but two of the members of Theory of Everything. And very frankly, I don't know if those are the members you want to have it on. I mean, Zai's fine. I don't think it's amazing for the Sejuani. Obviously, it's really good, but it's not who you're expecting to get the most value from a Baron buff on this roster, especially as you see them push up maybe a little bit too far, and Galax is immediately jumping in. They are getting melted down. They walked way too far forward. Do you not understand that the mid lane belongs to TMG, at least for the time being? And TMG are going to look to take what they can, but they just do
And
not
Caxie's
have
cutting
the
the
wave.
wave. Yeah, Caxie's cutting the
Yeah.
wave crucially here to make sure that his team doesn't immediately lose the game here. And Victor's going to be able to catch it at the tower, hopefully. He doesn't get Astro poked out, by the way. He does get the ulti landed on him, but that's, only about half his HP bar, which is kind of bad. But Wukong is going to flash forward onto him. The gravity ball is going to come down. I think the Wukong doesn't have enough damage to... Yeah, okay, cool. Wukong does not have enough damage to clean him up there, and now Emperor looks like a little bit of a dummy going in there, trying to catch out the Victor, who was probably not going to die anyway. As Caxie's going to look for a re-engage here on the Hui, the passive is going to come up, the Yuumi ulti is going to come down, and it looks like we're just going to leave him there to die. Victor's going to get the big shutdown. JP is in the base of TMG right now while all of this is happening, and Galax is trying to, prevent him from ending the game here, but I think JP might just kill Galax as the Seri finally comes in and saves him. Galogan is there to save the game from JP's side laning, and now Toe just gets to push down mid here, and the game is back to even. The gold is literally pretty much 1-to-1. We're 400 gold apart from each other right now. So, despite all of the hard work TMG has been doing... Oh, as Emperor is going to come in and knock both of them up, a random engage has found its head as the R2 misses from the Wukong. The series is going to ult the Xayah. The Xayah is going to fall. The Rakan is also going to fall. And Caxi is actually going to live by the enemy bot tier 2, shockingly enough. And it looks like Galax is going to get packed up in a body bag from the Victor.
Yeah, the big problem is now this Death Ball that is making its way down mid. Notably, he's not going to have that cannon minion, but with the turret being so low, that is going to end up costing them that turret no matter what. And as well, it's going to be an inhib as well. Caxi is going to go in to try to find this engage. It's technically a 3v2, as there is obviously the cat still on the shoulders of the Yuumi, but Emperor, I don't think he's going to be allowed to leave. No, they will not. They need to find Glogan, though, as they have very quickly become the biggest threat on the board for this TMG side, especially now with the Chemtech Drake. Yeah, something needs to change for Theory of Everything, but at least there's now a door open for them. They have that top lane, which is now cracked open, available to the Nexus turret. So even the next big team fight, which should be in about a minute, you have to imagine TMG are at least going to be hesitant to send everyone in. And I don't know how many people on this roster could stop the pushing Yorick. It's mainly the Zeri, but Zeri obviously needs to be involved in the team fight.
Yeah, and I mean, crucially, Glogan is not quite at LDR yet. LDR is, like, extremely crucial for getting through Caxi and JP's health bars this game. There is just such, like, a health bar discrepancy, even with the Yuumi ult and the Zeri getting the heal from the Yumi plus the shield, it is still very, very, very difficult to peel through all of these people. So we keep seeing the Zeri having to go backline, but without any like real true frontline. For the side of the Zeri, it is very, very hard to walk into these objectives as we see the Hui ulti just barely go wide, and the Singed is looking to get a big engage here as Galax goes in, gets knocked up, stunned up, the Yumi R comes down, the Zeri has slid the wall, the Zeri still has not ulted, or I think the ulti is going, the passive is going right now, they get a big pick, and the Zeri ult has now fallen off as Zayed no longer has ulti, but crucially has the flash. Galax is going to flip the Sejuani. Daigen is going to get poked a little bit here, and JP is attempting to end the game. Hui obviously sees this. The Sejuani is going to get feared up, and I do believe JP is just going to end the game here. I don't think that Galax is going to be able to stop him from ending. JP is running away as much as he can. He should still look to try and end the game here. It is looking a little difficult. JP is about 3 autos away. One more Q, 2 more autos, and that's the end of the game. JP has successfully backdoored the game away from the likes of TMG, and TMG is out of the tournament because of a backdoor from JP. JP finally is awake in the TOE roster and has finally solo won his team a game. Thank you, JP. You have done something finally.
So I have a sneaking suspicion every single team that comes up against Theory of Everything next week is going to first ban out the Yorick. Because now that's 2 times Yorick has been allowed to be played by JP, and JP has just won the game off the back of it. Oh god, the frog. Even more so this game around. This game was actually kind of crazy. I really think that if York was not a factor, if you just put another top laner who even is winning their lane, right? Even still winning their lane, Galax still loses, regardless of who he picks. I think in every other scenario, this is a win, a 2-0 win for TMG. But that top lane matchup just constantly being won out by JP constantly putting pressure, and obviously really good macro play, taking and just making their opponent bleed out over time. That game even wasn't as dominant as their first one. I mean, first game, I think they did a lot better of staying really close. TMG felt like they were constantly dominating and in control of both games, even more so in game number 2. But in the end, Yorick is Yorick and does Yorick things, and it's just too much, even when you have a Zeri who is absolutely melting. But you also do have to give so much credit to the rest of the team because they knew exactly what the objective was. They did such a good job at preventing the backs from the rest of the roster to make it just so Galax was the only one who was able to try to interrupt that final push. And because of that, they're able to win off the back of it. If even one more member gets to come back and have a shot at JP, I don't think that game ends there, and I think TMG might win, but they do such a good job to stall the backs and give JP the opening.
Yeah, and I mean, unfortunately for the side of TMG, this was their final game in the CCS Apollo League Revival. But I will say, for as trial and tribulous as their season was with the 1-16 record, they took down Skyloft Spire in the Gauntlet like they said they would. They would show up in the Gauntlet, and I do think that they showed a lot of perseverance and a ton of resilience. Being a 1-16 team and even being this close to beating TOE, which is like granted another bottom of the barrel team, but they almost made playoffs. Like they were literally like one team fight away both games from making playoffs. How insane is that for a 1-16 record roster to take a team with triple, quadruple, like quintuple their wins in a season to 2 very close games decided by one fight? I think that is a huge testament to all 5 of the players on TMG. And I do believe that we are going to go to a very quick intermission, and I wish TMG the best. I hope this team stays together because I do think that they can grow together. But we will be having an interview from Daigen from TOE after just a short break here. So we'll catch you guys back with that shortly.
Alrighty, and we are back with our winners interview. Joining us is the support from Theory of Everything, Dagan. Dagan, I'm going to start off with a nice, easy softball question to you. Obviously, this win means that you get to play next week in the playoffs. How does it feel to secure that spot?
I mean, that's pretty great. I think like the main thing that our team was worried about was just not making out of the Gauntlet. You know, everybody was always rooting for us as the dark horse. It was constantly getting thrown in the different Apollo channels since our like first 20 losses of the season, right? So it is kind of nice to actually get that spot secured and get our opportunity to play against some of the higher rated teams, higher seeded teams in the tournament.
Yeah, and you guys are going into the losers brackets, but you guys were definitely not the losers today. Somehow, even though both games came down to one final, very explosive team fight, both. And I just wanted to know what the comms were in games 1 and game 2 for both of those final team fights, because one ended by backdoor and another ended by just like a complete like random blowout engage from your mid and your jungle.
So before I say anything about that, I have to give it to TMG. Honestly, we kind of curb stomped them a couple of weeks back, and they really, really, really gave us a run for our money this series today. We were really impressed by how they played. It was very, very difficult for us to play the game. We were obviously on the back foot both games. For game one, we just knew that we couldn't walk up to the objective. We had to like path through mid and try to get some priority, force them off of that objective, so that they had to like walk towards us. And it just ended up really nicely timed where when they went in for the engage, we obviously they could only engage on our front line, our Mundo and our Amumu, who aren't going to die quickly. And then we promptly had the Yone and the Mel coming in where we were able to everybody jump uh on the main character and just blow them up, and from there the fight was pretty clean. So it was honestly just the fact that, I mean, they spent way too much on our front line, which is exactly how we wanted to play the fight, right? um for game two, I am very proud to say I was the one who macro called that JPTP top. It just got even better and more plain to see as soon as we saw the singed TP into bot lane. We knew that they had nothing to counter it, and then from there it was just a they can't really go back to the base because they give us Elder, and they have to stay and contest Elder, so we just have to stay and pretend we're contesting it and make sure that they can't get backs off even if it cost us our lives, and that's what we did. It worked out perfectly. He was really able to pull through with that backdoor, but yeah, honestly, fantastic. All according to our plan towards the end. Both games actually.
Yeah, and I mean, all according to plan as plans are. And I just wanted like an additional follow-up question. I know Caxi is a huge leader in your guys' comms, but did the commander come out tonight? Was he vocally shot calling every single, minuscule micro play in the early game like he normally does for you? Or was he a little bit more on the chill side and, taking these games a little bit easier? Or was he more serious for these games?
I know on a lot of his other teams, everybody has the Commander Caxi meme because, I mean, I've listened to some of the comms on those teams, and he is definitely very proactive at micromanaging and hurting the cats. But it's not really the case on our team as much. I mean, he streams. You can definitely check out the comms. He is definitely a good leader, and he brings our team together. But I'm there to help back up our comms and kind of keep them clear as much as possible. Um, I feel like all of the information that he provides isn't crowded, and it's really what we need to know in the moment. Obviously, some of it slips past some of our members. Everybody needs to get a little bit better at listening in for sure. But at the end of the day, I think he provides what our team needs as a shot caller, or a primary shot caller, I should say.
Absolutely. And just to kind of close it out, I know you already said that we're not going to be able to coax any, strategy talk out of you like we were yesterday. So I'm not even going to try, but with this win, obviously it was already mentioned you're going to be going to lower bracket to start off playoffs. So it's only going to be one life once more, but you're going to be going up against Gojo's gym. How confident are you going into that matchup in playoffs next week?
I mean, I'm personally excited to bot lane against Hoodie Chris. We have a little bit history in another org, so that's gonna be kind of nice. But I mean, you say we only have one life, but one life is all we need, right? I mean, we can take that one life all the way to the end if we have
Never
to.
lose again. Absolutely. Just never lose again. If you watch Shorzy, you know the mentality. But thank you so much for joining us. Obviously, that is going to pretty much close out the day. We cannot wait to see how you and the rest of Theory of Everything perform starting next week. I don't know which games are going to be streamed, though I hope we get to see you later in the bracket if it ends up not being your matchup next week. And of course, Sung, thank you so much for joining us for the interview. You were amazing.
Sounds great. Thank you very much for having me.
But Sutek, I believe that is pretty much gonna be everything. There is still another series going on. XSV versus Khan is just now hitting the start of its second match of the series. So there is still League of Legends to watch over on the CCS2 channel. If you are interested, go take a watch. But Sutek, that's all we got. Any final thoughts before we send it home for the night?
No crazy final thoughts other than GG's to both teams. Like I said, TMG, you played a lot better than
Oh, yeah.
everybody expected you to, so big props to you guys. And TOE, you managed to eke out some very close 2 games against a team that we thought was going to play a lot worse today. But congrats to you guys for obviously making it to the losers bracket of playoffs, and I hope you guys make a long run because I am Commander Caxie's number 3 biggest fan next to my 2 teammates. So thank you everybody at CCS. Thank you MB behind the scenes for the broadcast,
Yeah.
and this will be the end of the road for me and Soren here for tonight. So thank you guys, and see you the next time we see you.